Good evening, everyone. Time is now 7:05 p.m., and today's date is Monday, April 20th, 2026, and we are here for our regularly scheduled town council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first item on the agenda this evening is the Spotlight on Schools. And we don't have an official presentation this evening, but I did want to leave it on the agenda, as I do know that some members on the council did have some news that they would like to share. So I'll start with Councilor Durkin, if you'd like to share what event you attended, unless you want me to wait for you to pull up your notes.
no, I was not prepared to speak about it, but I can share with everyone how delightful it was. It was proud. I was proud to be part of it. It was a
What was the event?
celebration of Special Olympics, and
At the elementary school.
the Narragansett Elementary School got an award. The entire school population was there, and the students, teachers, athletic people. It was, it was full. The facilities were impeccable. The students that spoke were very young and articulate, and it was really nice to see them getting a very nice education, and it's nice to see when we pass the budget that the money that we spend on the schools is being well spent. So that's what I made. It was a feel-good day,
Excellent. And Councilor Collins, I believe you have another update.
Yeah, I was there. It was a great event. Again, the whole school body was there, singing songs and celebrating the Special Olympics. And the host of the event was a young man, maybe, I don't know, 11 years old, 12 years old. It was great. It was just wonderful to watch.
Excellent. And I know Councilor Colonies and I also had the opportunity to be History Day judges. And I tell you, the more and more I get concerned about the news every time I flip on the TV, I'm really reassured and feel confident about the future of our students and our children when I go walking in there and I learn something new. These kids were so passionate and so well prepared and presenting at a high level that it goes beyond college years. So again, I just want to say just how much of a rewarding experience that was, and I'm grateful for having been a judge. And they will be sending a couple projects to Washington, D.C. I believe it's in June. And the last update I'll share is the Mariner Music had an amazing trip to the Big Apple this weekend. Concert band, advanced treble chorus, and concert chorus were all awarded first place in their respective categories with top ratings at the New York City Festivals of Music. And concert band and advanced treble chorus took home the Best Overall Band and Best Overall Chorus awards. So we send our sincere congratulations to them, and hopefully we'll be treated with a song or two at a later meeting. So with that, we will move on to the town manager's update. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, members of the council, folks who are here this evening, and those who are listening from home. Just a few updates for the week. The majority of the week has been spent with budget preparation and adjustments that have been a priority to the council as we move closer to finalizing a budget for the council to approve. The town beach sand replenishment was completed this week, Wednesday on the 15th. About 200 to 250 cubic yards of sand were deposited on the beach. The Narrow River dredging project update. CRMC did approve the permit application on Monday, April 13th, and we discussed the DEM application with DEM, and the review should be completed soon, and the permit from DEM will be forthcoming. The last permit needed is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who are waiting on for the review of comments and recommendations from U.S. Fish and Wildlife before they can issue the final permit. That status hasn't changed for a while, but we expect it to soon. I will update everyone more as it becomes available, And I'd like to thank Town Engineer John Gerhard, who has been doing a great job managing this whole permitting process for the Narrow River dredging project. The wastewater treatment plant. The plant is operating optimally at this juncture and has been for some time. Yet we continue to work, the staff and the consultants continue to work together, preparing for the upcoming summer. Additionally, we have drafted the job announcement for a seasonal part-time wastewater treatment facility worker after receiving some additional information, and that should be posted soon. And last but not least, we received a certificate of special recognition from Governor McKee, where he wishes to acknowledge the Town of Narragansett Department of Public Works. And Dan, if you could just put that up. Thank you very much. In short, you can read it, but one of the last sections is, for your steadfast service, unwavering perseverance, I hereby commend and honor the department with profound gratitude. Your actions reflect the highest standards of public service. And on behalf of the residents of Rhode Island, the governor is pleased to issue the certificate of special recognition. I could not agree more. They've done a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you. And we extend our sincerest congratulations as well. Please give a round of applause. And again, to highlight, Councilor Durkin and I actually were in attendance and testified in favor, strong support for the approval of the CRMC application permit. And I just want to thank, everyone for the many years and legwork and lift that it took to get us here. This is not only something that was a top priority for this council to see through, but I do know and send my sincere thanks to at least the last two councils who really helped to start the process and get us to the point that we're at, as well as Mr. Gerhard, the Narrow River Preservation Association, town manager, the many residents and council members who provided letters of recommendations, including the Dunes Club, state reps for their advocacy. And again, please continue to write letters and make calls to your federal and state reps to let them know that this is a priority of ours, as we do want to see that now that we have the momentum built for this permit, we want to see it continue to build and really see it come to fruition. So, thank you. Did you have something you wanted to add? To anything that Jim just went over?
Is Jim finished?
Yes.
Oh, Jim, so the beach, now that we have the permit, we have the vote that will issue the permit. And we have to wait for DM, we have to wait for this, that. But it looks like it's on a, maybe hopefully a fast track. The October deadline is not too far away. And is there any funds that are actually slotted for that we can depend on yet? Or is it just possibilities, or is it,
The plan was, as I stated before on this, that once it is approved, and we have to then put the RFP out, which takes a good month, and it's usually another good month of going back and forth with the responding vendors with questions, and then we will have a firm number of what the actual cost will be with any modifications that are made to the plan. And then we have already submitted for the congressional directed spending grants and the project grants from the Senate and from the House. In addition to that, there's always the possibility there could be a budget amendment if we needed that. But we're also working with some private partners who prefer to remain anonymous right now and private until such time as we have a plan, because to give money to something when there's no plan, I wouldn't do it. And that's, they want to sit and wait and see what the actual dollar amount is and what the final plan that is approved is. And then we're approaching them in addition to the congressional directed spending and project grants that we put in for. And of course, there's always an opportunity later on, if necessary, for perhaps an amendment, a budget amendment at the time. But I don't personally think the town of Narragansett should bear the brunt of this entire program. That's just my personal opinion.
So,
And I think we all agree up here. I know I agree.
totally, yeah. So, it is the permit that, the application that got approved at CRMC, is that subject to change from these other regulatory, companies or government entities?
I can't answer that.
So, assuming that it's not going to change, is there any reason we have to wait to put out the RFP until?
Because if it does change, or there's some other factors still in play here that they're not out 100%, there's nothing secret about it, it's just other matters have to play out with abutting property owners and surveys and whatnot.
Yeah.
We are working on that.
Okay.
Any
But
other
it would be
questions?
premature to issue an RFP before we have the
Yeah,
permits.
because October's right around the corner.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Jim. Moving on to the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve as presented items B1, B2, B3, and B4?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to onto the open forum. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak for open forum?
We have 3 people who have signed up for it, Alex.
Oh, sorry.
Joe Cardello.
So I'll start with those and anyone who hasn't signed up. As a reminder, the comments of citizens addressing the council are neither adopted nor endorsed by the body, but heard as requested. Public comment will not be taken on matters involving open litigation. Please state your name and address. Speak only on topics not on the meeting agenda, and please keep your time to 3 minutes, and please be orderly and respectful. Oh,
How's that?
there you go. Perfect.
20 Narragansett Avenue, Joe Cardello. Am I going to have a chance to speak after the reading on the parking?
Yeah, the parking, you can speak at the time that
I'll
agenda
hold
item
my
comes up.
comments to then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, okay.
Dr. Al Alba, followed by John Hanley, and those are the only names signed up.
Okay.
Dr. Al Alba, before I get started, though, when the clock starts ticking, I would like to ask Jim a question. I did receive an email about an RFP for the pumps for the wastewater treatment center, because that wasn't talked about a bid from the town that's going out for a request for our wastewater treatment center, for updates on that. Is that correct? Did we do anything about that?
Dr. Albert, I appreciate the question. I just want to make sure that
I did receive the email from the town.
it's just not appropriate to have it back and
so
forth in the middle of the meeting.
It wasn't addressed, so.
If you would like to respond, but you're not required to, and then I'll start the time.
I would remind everyone to address the council and not the staff, number 1. Number 2, I will answer, yes, we're moving forward with that repair.
Okay, so they would be, okay, I thought that was worthy enough to actually be as part of your updates, but I guess you do not think so, but that's okay. That's your prerogative. Okay, so I'll get started now. So I've been contacting a lot of towns and even our city in regards to the urgency. I said, I wrote to a town, I am writing to urge the town of such and such to join the Rhode Island municipalities in opposing the state's one-size-fits-all housing and zoning mandates. By utilizing the home
Dr.
rule
Alba,
statute.
this item is on the agenda this evening. This open forum is for time to
Oh, this
talk
is
about
on the
items that are
agenda?
not
okay,
on the
I
agenda.
didn't see that on the agenda. Okay, so
Yeah,
I'll bring that up.
It's
So-
item E7
E7, okay.
is for the
Okay.
discussion of those.
So I would like to discuss with the entire town council and the town that, we all have to do our due diligence. I did see, we're all into conservation. We talked about dredging, and we're all about schools. We have the best school system, one of the best school systems, one of the top-tier school systems in the state. There's no question about it. The best teachers, okay, and our students are fantastic. On that note, we want to make sure that we can maintain our schools, that it's going to stay open. Not only now with this town council, but for future town councils. So if we do not get a handle on rentals and fewer families are going to be able to afford to move into Narragansett, there might be a point of no return. Because it's simple economics, we can see some of the issues going in South County. Right now in South Kingstown, they had the place flooded because they said they had to do some cuts. So we don't have, money doesn't grow on trees, that's what my father used to say. So we have to think of the consequences. And also about the cost for our wastewater treatment. It wasn't addressed by the town manager, but that's important. Because if we don't have a moratorium on building, and we have more and more building, and more, it's going to tax our infrastructure more and more, then who's going to pay for that? It's projected to cost us $100 million just for the upgrades. And money doesn't grow on trees. We all live here, and residents who are on a fixed income or those who are on getting a fixed Social Security, the cost could end up pushing them out. So we have to consider this. If we're all about affordability and affordable housing, and to push for affordable housing, then we have to work at making Narragansett more affordable. And I have families that have come up to me saying, we want to buy our property in Narragansett, but it's being overpriced because investors are buying out this property from over us, and from under us. I mean, they are saying that it's being bid, they're being $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over the price that it would be in another neighborhood, such as North Kingstown. And it's not because we have the coast, it's because people are using it for investments. So we should be having a moratorium instead of encouraging more and more building for investments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hanley, I believe, was next on the list.
John Hanley, 10 Wilderness Drive. This item is definitely not on the agenda, and I'm wondering why. It's the short-term rental ordinance, or lack thereof. Let's go back in time. Town Council meeting, January 21st, 2025. Councilman Torialde introduces a motion to have a work session on the short-term rental ordinance, one of the priorities of the council. After discussion, work session scheduled for February 18th, 2025. Motion passes 5-0. Town Council meeting February 3rd, 2025. Motion by Menzies and Durkin. After much discussion, council votes 5-0 for the following. Roundtable public discussion or community meeting on short-term rentals scheduled for February 24th. Work session rescheduled for March 17th. Town Council meeting February 18th, 2025. Councilwoman Vignali suggests outside group to facilitate the community meeting. Date moves from February 24th to March 4th. I voiced my concern about time slipping away and ordinance might not be ready for 2025. Motion passes 5-0. Community meeting takes place on March 4th, 2025, to much glad handing amongst the council, congratulating themselves on inclusivity and transparency. Town Council meeting, March 17th, 2025. The workshop is rescheduled for April 28th, 2025. Motion passes 5-0. Workshop held April 28th, 2025. Then, almost a year to the day today, absolutely nothing on the short-term rental ordinance. We then went through the summer of no water and sewer stench, and absolutely nothing. Nothing in place in 2025, and nothing will be in place for 2026. Instead, we're utilizing our town attorney to research water restrictions on town residents and ways to change the name of our sewer plant. Money well spent. I ask why? What happened to the short-term rental ordinance? Or better yet, who successfully pressured you to abandon the effort? So I'll close with a request. Why don't one of you show some guts and for the next meeting put on an agenda a motion just to discuss the short-term rental ordinance? Your promise of transparency demands no less.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Moving on to the public hearing. Time is it, 7:25? All right, is there a motion to open and hold a second public hearing on the proposed budget for the 2026 to 2027 fiscal year?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. So Jim, now that we're in officially, oh, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Now that we're in the public hearing. Are we inviting Christine up for an update, or just wondering the order of operations here?
Yes, Christine's going to work off the PowerPoint that's been prepared and provided
Excellent.
to you ahead of time, and then you folks can conduct the hearing from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, can't share our appreciation enough. I know timelines were pushed up about a month, I think, this year, and for every department head to work in collaboration with the town manager and with Christine, our finance director, to present us with a budget and to get us here today, I think is very admirable. I think it was like last year, this time we were only starting our workshop, so we're really ahead of schedule here and really appreciative of all the added efforts. So, good evening.
Okay, good evening, Council President Menzies and council members. So we're here for the second public hearing of the town manager's proposed budget. What's notable in the budget? It is up slightly from the first public hearing by $74,736. The unassigned fund balance remains the same from the first public hearing. The use of unassigned fund balance went up a little bit, $44,709, and still maintain 100% funding for the actuarial determined contributions for both pensions and the OPEB fund. Due to the values coming in a little bit lower than expected, than the normal range, I guess you could say, the tax rate to the taxpayer has increased slightly from 17 cents per thousand to 25 cents per thousand. In the first public hearing, the tax rate was $6.96. It's gone up to $7.04. And that is to maintain the 4% tax levy. It's a 3.7% tax rate increase. Whoops. So this is the slide that shows, 2%, 3%, and 4% of a $450,000 home, $850,000 home, and $1 million home. The increase for the $1 million home for the year is $247, and the increase for the $450,000 home is $111.15. The budget forecast. So again, this is the slide where I show how much revenue grows year over year with the 4% and the difference between the 2%, which is minimal growth year over year. The assumptions. State aid is still, reimburses are still projected. Capital improvement plans increased slightly, and you'll see why in a few more slides. 2 reasons is the skate park, engineering and design was added, and the Vector truck, $35,000 to support that vehicle, and I will explain in the next few slides what's happening with that vehicle. Like I said, the operating budget increased $74,736. This is from the first public hearing. School department remains the same ask of 2.3, and the Maury Lugins Memorial Library, their request remains the same. We included the special appropriation increase for the South County Museum of $7,000. The transfer to Sunset Farms for the capital project of $30,000. We transferred $50,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust as requested. We reduced debt service by $179,328 because We're not ready to issue the debt that we talked about, the 8.5 million. We're going to be postponing that until, January or June of '27. The projects aren't quite as far along as first thought. So that's principal and interest that we'll be saving. I reduced the contingency account by $100,000, and there was a reduction in the general fund for OPEB contributions because the OPEB is based on salaries, so those changed a bit. There was a slight increase request from community development for professional development of $200. Municipal court for printing of the violation books, I believe. Employee compensation went up, mostly due to the healthcare costs increase. I increased the general town clerk's revenue by $30,000. There was an increase in the recycling fund by $5,200 for e-waste hauling. And there was a use of surplus equipment fund for the Vector truck of $150,000. So here we go with the bond of $8.5 million. We're looking, like I said, to postpone that to either January or June of '27. Everything else remains the same. The 1.1 for the fire pumper, we've switched that to just the fire pumper. It would be easier to reconcile. So that is on the agenda for later this evening, and that is to authorize the fire department to order the vehicle and then issue the debt when it's closer to delivery. If you remember that, it takes about 2 years to get those. So here's some changes. Again, in summary, from the first public hearing, to reiterate, debt service is down $179,328. The OPEB for general fund went down $59,727. We increased the Affordable Housing Trust transfer to $50,000. We increased South County Museum ask an additional $7,000. Again, community development asked for additional $200. Municipal court $2,000. Employee compensation $305,091, and the contingency account reduced by $100,000. Keeping the total change increase of only $74,736. This is where we'll get into what we're creatively doing with the Vector truck. These are the changes in the capital improvement plan from the first public hearing. DPW was able to get a quote of $600,000 for the Vector truck if it's ordered quickly. So to expedite that, we increased the ask for $35,000 in the DPW capital. And that is on page 39. You'll see at the bottom of that page, it's described. So to support that $600,000, there was an additional $35,000 added to the capital. Surplus fund we have for selling all our property is $150,000. We asked fire department to transfer $375,000 that they had reserved for the pumper. That's why we're just going to support the pumper of the 1.1 million. And then there's a trade-in value of about $40,000. Does that make sense? I know it's a lot moving parts, but it was a little creative. We added in the skate park engineering and design on page 45. You'll see that, $14,500. And the enterprise funds and the water fund on page 65, there's a need to renovate a building for the guys to have an office. And then on page 54, we added Narrow River dredging of $1.9 million. That's, again, just an estimate, and it's all from other funding sources. There was nothing from the general fund except for $155,000 in ARPA money that has already been spent. This is just the pie chart of the budget. You'll see the school transfer remains the biggest part of our operating budget, and then salary benefits and other transfers. Everything else is minimal. So for your consideration, we have the new positions that were requested: a finance specialist for finance and accounting, a DPW asked for a driver and a mechanic. Parks and Recreation asked for a heavy equipment operator. Inspection has a mid-management transfer to an office administrator. The town clerk has a transfer to mid-management for the deputy town clerk. And community development has a promotion to senior planner. Items that are not budgeted, still being considered, is if there's any need for any additional money for affordable housing for bond issuance. Capital projects, a bike path engineering and design was approximately $150,000. Skate park construction and build, approximately $600,000. Fire stations 1 and 3, $3 million. That's the potential for a ballot question on the 26 elections, and that is also later in the agenda. And then there's the wastewater facility plan. Next, we have the adoption of the capital improvement plan on May 18th, the first reading of the ordinance for the budget on May 18th, and then a second reading and adoption of the budget on June 1st. Questions?
Well, thank you again for streamlining and giving us a high-level overview. It was really appreciative. I know that we, as a council, pushed back on a lot of different asks, and we came up with a lot of creative ideas during those work sessions. And I know they weren't as highly well attended as I thought they were going to be, but I found the work sessions to be very informative, and I highly recommend anyone and everyone who has a question about where the money's going to please consider watching these work sessions, which are posted online for your convenience. My question, actually, if you wouldn't mind, I don't know which which slide it was on.
Actually, would it be possible to just go back through it slower so we could just have questions
Ask specific
after
questions?
each page?
That-
You know,
That's fine.
because it, like, yeah, the first page, and then we can ask that, because it's hard to remember.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
Well, I don't have any specific questions about this page.
Oh, okay.
I only had a specific question about the later parts, about what was not in. I was curious as to why, I know we had talked about the 3 million bond. Why is that not in the budget, out of curiosity, since it's a ballot question?
Answer that one now? Yeah?
Yeah, you can answer that one now if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm good
It's
with
not in the budget because it has to go to the, on the ballot first. to
Oh,
be
okay.
voted for.
So it still will
It's-
be up for consideration on the ballot?
Exactly.
Okay, just want to make that clear. Thank you. So I don't have, does anyone have any questions on here?
Would you just be able to talk through the funding stream on the Vector truck one more time?
Sure. That was creative.
Some creative
All
accounting.
right, here we go. So I added 35,000 to the capital improvement for DPW. There's a surplus equipment fund with about 159,000. That's what we get when we sell things on Gov Deals. So we were going to use 150,000 from that. The fire department, they had 375,000 from last year that they saved for the fire pumper. But we're going to fund the fire pumper 1.1 million at later debt. Remember when we first talked about it, we were going to do some fire pumper, some Vector truck? We'll keep it all the fire pumper. And then we moved the 375 from the fire to the DPW Vector truck. And there's a trade-in value of about 40,000.
What are we trading in?
The old Vector.
Oh, makes sense.
At this point, I don't think we need to
me to go
be
through?
specific to any one particular slide, but if anyone has any questions, I know.
So where is the location of the new water department building? Is that on Point Shoes Road?
Jim, right next to Kinney, you have the garage there, the storage garage next to the Kinney Tower.
Yeah, okay.
From there, the plan is, they've been out of the base of Kitty Tower, which served as an office. To be quite frank, when I was hired here, they had mushrooms growing on the floor. We had it remediated a couple of times. The mold and the moisture and the air quality just continues to be awful. You can't work in there. I wouldn't work in there. I wouldn't expect any staff to. And we started looking at alternate sites for where they could have office space and storage space for their equipment, because they have to go out a lot at night. The trucks are parked outside at any juncture, and the tools and everything in the back, they get covered in snow and rain and whatnot. But they don't really have an office now. They're working on desks in a garage down by the Point Judith Tower. And so the proposal was, we had Keith do a rough plan and had the crew from Water and John, the engineer, look at it. And at that juncture, we said we have to make a move on it at some point. That comes from the enterprise account, which does support what is proposed as this capital project right now. It comes from the enterprise account, not the regular general fund.
So where's the office going to be?
That garage is going to be expanded.
Oh, so the garage that's there now?
Correct.
At Kinney Ave, okay.
Yes.
All right, so that's going to get expanded up or sideways, or?
I can get you the exact plan. There's going to be some rise in it. I have the plan in my office, actually.
So is that the only building that, so every water tower doesn't have an office in it, right? That's the only one that has the office, right?
Correct.
For
And then
all of our water,
at the base of the Point Judith, we have the garage there, which serves as the office.
right?
And then we have the one at the base of Kinney, but there's no office. I mean, they can't work in there.
No, I get it. Yeah, that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
The one down by Charlie O's, though, there's no office there?
In the garage area, there's office, but it's
Okay.
not set up. In fact, if anybody wants to take a look at it, we can go down there someday and show what it's like under the Kinney Tower itself and what facilities they're makeshift using now in the base of the Point Judith Tower, which is separate from the tower itself.
The Point Judith Tower is the one by Charlie O's,
Correct.
and the other one's called Kinney,
Correct.
and they both have offices. I've never been in the gated one at Charlie O's, I call it.
Okay.
Point Judith, so I'm not familiar with that, but I know there's a building there.
There is, yep.
And there's an office in it?
It's off at the table, the desk set up in the area.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of wide open.
Yeah.
It's not,
So you're going to consolidate?
we'll have more storage space and appropriate office space for the staff there, for the superintendent and the staff, and storage of the equipment. And I'd be glad to go down with 2 council members at a time, or 1 council member at a time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Give you a view of it.
No, I wasn't sure. I figured you were doing something with the garage. I just didn't know if there was another office. There's no facilities in the water tower on the north end, right? That's just a
Just the
a
tower.
water tower with no, yeah. Okay, that's one question I had.
Thank you.
So this first slide, the only thing different is that, the increase of 74,000 plus. So any questions on this one? Everything else is pretty much the same.
And the increase that Christine is referring to is an increase from the previous reduction on the operating of 377, correct?
Any questions on the tax rates and levy?
Well, just, again, I know I've exhausted this question every time you get up here, but you never know. There's always new people listening. Can you just, once again, give a soundbite of the 4% tax levy increase and what that actually, in turn, actually means to the individual taxpayer, especially with a lot of chaos going on elsewhere in the state right now concerning tax rate increases? I would love for you to be able to provide some
Sure.
relief.
So we can, state law, the maximum that a municipality can increase its tax levy is 4%. That's the value, the net value, based on the tax rate. So that's the levy, but then that affects your tax rate. And at this point, it's a 3.7% increase in the tax rate, but a 4% maximum increase for the tax levy, the values.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the only question I had on this slide.
This is
And-
just a summary of the money, what it costs.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I think we're all probably collectively good unless you have any questions specifically to the levy tax rate.
No, I'm just trying to figure out how we get there, that's all. I wanted to look at the full-time employments that you're
Okay,
adding.
that's coming up.
or-
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah.
All right, good with this one,
Yep.
too? All right.
And
The
these are the
assumptions?
assumptions. I don't know if anyone, I think maybe Counselor Colonies probably has a question, but it's just an assumption.
Yeah, I do. So in the original budget, before the skate park got taken out, it was in it to design it and build it at the same time. And I'm curious as to why we are just into the design section of it and why we wouldn't be trying to build it. It looks like it's going to be a 3-year project.
Well, we broke it up because we were a little off on the actual design, the build portion. So Parks and Rec got new numbers. So it's $14,500 to do the engineering and design. And they said it could be anywhere from $500 to $600 plus thousand. So I put it over 2 years for the design, for the build after the design, to find out really what it would cost. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I just,
That's why
I'd
you
rather
don't-
see the whole thing in
you
there and
can't pull numbers out of the sky.
Again, just to, maybe provide some relief here, just for projects like that. I know you're very passionate about it, whether or not it makes it in. I am very much in favor of it being in this budget to build, but I do know that there's like a lot of big capital projects that we're pretty much in consensus on based on workshops and our discussions during them. Something like this could, have a fundraiser for it to be paid in its entirety. I do know that they had an extreme amount of success for the playground at the elementary school, I think. There's a lot of fundraising done that was very successful to get that done. I'm pretty confident that we could get a fundraising initiative together to get a skate park done if it is not something that can be fit into the budget at this time. I do know that there's a lot of people interested in this, but of course I still would like to see it in it. I'm just throwing that as a consideration.
so I do understand this, and I just want to make my point very clear on it. I am passionate about it, and I know that there are families that are very passionate about it as well. And it's not just a skate park, it's the idea that we are rebuilding fun for our families and our children out there, right? And it seems to have always been kick down the road, kick down the road, kick down the road. So like, I'm passionate about it because I want it to happen for these families now. So that's where I'm at with it. I do understand what you're saying, but
And again, I know that we've had this discussion as a council during the work sessions, and I do know that you have voiced your similar passion for the dredging projects, supporting our schools. Like, there's a lot of big capital projects. The thing, again, that we learned from the budgeting during the schools is, and I know you're very familiar with how budgeting works, but it's always tough when you add, you have to take away from somewhere. So, if there's a big flashy capital project that is a necessity, like putting money towards our wastewater sewer treatment facilities, the dredging, we don't want to be taken away from that. And again, I am on your side here, and I want this to happen. I'm just saying I know that those are the tough decisions that go on here. Sorry, I saw your mic on, Mr.
Oh,
Durkin.
I left it on, but I can ask a question. So the school department budgeted, Jason, I'm with you there, so don't, I don't want you to feel like bad or anything. You got to fight for everything here, so,
No, this is good. You should be fighting
yeah, it's,
cordially.
yeah, cordially. So the school department budgeted allocation increase of $675. Now, I wasn't there at the budget hearing, but one of these guys that always talks about the buses, and I did it when I was on the council before, and I'll do it again. And I know they've done a great job decreasing, I guess it would be the length of the buses overall, because I go by the school department, and it used to be like 20 long buses. Now it's, I think I've gone by there, and maybe I haven't counted more than 10, maybe there's 11. But I live in Point Judith, I work in Point Judith, and I always see empty buses. And it's not the end of the line, it's not the beginning of the line, because I work on Point Judith Road and I live on Ocean Road, and the buses are always empty. And I think psychologically to the taxpayer, it's a problem. And if we can get shorter buses that don't look empty, then I would think we should do that. And I've been told, well, you know, a short bus doesn't cost much, a long bus doesn't cost much less than a short bus, and it gives you more opportunity to do different things. But, I mean, it's like if you don't need a Suburban.
We can't do anything with the school department budget.
I would just say that.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I can say
understand.
what I wanna say,
understand.
right?
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
fine, yeah.
It's
Please
right there,
understand that
so.
we can't do anything about it,
No,
except for not fund them.
but I can say
Right.
something about it.
Right, yeah. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I just try to, you know, I'm for the schools, I'm for the buses. I think it's great that we have our own buses, you know, and the kids know their drivers, and that was like it was when I was a kid, and it's cool. But I would rather be on a full bus than an empty bus as a child myself, you know.
I do know, I did busing in East Greenwich School Department.
Yeah.
And I do know that, don't you chuckle. Many times, people sign up for the bus, families register, but they end up bringing their children, and you still have to hold a seat for them. I don't know if that's what's happening, but I do know that does happen.
Yeah.
So it looks like an empty bus, but it's really full, saved seats, so to say. I don't know if that's happening, but
I think it's a good soundbite. I would add that, you know, I did have a follow-up question with the superintendent and members of the school committee as well. And during that work session, it was confirmed that this is not a net new. It's just replacing one that's needs to be replaced. Otherwise, I would be in agreement with Mr. Durkin on this, but I do know that there are situations in which the schools use these larger buses for field trips, sending multiple classes together on field trips. This is, again, just replacing one that just really needs to be updated. And again, I commend the school committee and the school department for their collaboration on and trimming the fat. There's what very little fat there is left to trim down. And I know I can say the same thing about every other department here, but I appreciate the added efforts and the presentation, the very thorough presentation that Dr. Cummings presented this council, and his willingness to answer our questions. There's always the question, why are we paying for all of this money every year when we have a decline in student enrollment? But the reality is most of this is salaries and fees and maintenance costs that they can't be replaced. It's going towards areas in the budget that just go up with the rates of just about everything else. So they have cut and pulled back on teachers and faculty where they had to make those very difficult decisions. And I appreciate and respect the difficult decision that was made there. So that's everything I have on this page. Is everyone good on this one? I know we still have a bit to get through here.
the assumption page?
I don't have any questions on this, just appreciate what's been added here. I think this slide is reflective of some of the many asks that this council had, so I appreciate it. Councilor Durkin, any questions on this?
No.
Anyone over here? Councilor Colonies, Councilor Torralde?
No.
Oh, there was a no, okay. So we can continue. Thank you.
Next.
Anyone on this slide? I don't have any questions. You do? Okay, go ahead.
So the increased employee compensation, that's just union contracts and increases and things like that. Is there anything here that is for adding, on this page, adding employees?
This 305,000 is different from the first public hearing. All those positions were already in the budget, and all the contractual salaried amount was already in the budget. This 305 represents the increase to health and dental.
Oh, for health insurance? Yeah,
It took a dramatic increase, yes.
yeah. And the increased general clerk revenue, oh, that's, okay, so that's revenue. Okay, I'm good with that.
Anyone else have any questions on this slide? Good. Next. Any questions on this slide? Again, I think this is reflective of what was discussed during those work sessions. I don't think this is net new. Any questions? Nope. Let's move on.
This is just a summary, again, of the changes, just in a different format.
Yep. Nope. Again, I'm really appreciative of the added assistance going towards South County Museum, and continue to encourage anyone and everyone, if you have never made the trek there, to please check it out.
You want me to explain the Vector again?
Oh, no, I'm, no,
It's a lot of moving parts.
I'm good. So we have the engineering 14 and a half, the water fund. Can you just explain that again one more time? Sorry.
That's the building that Jim and James Durkin were talking about. That's,
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
And then the Narrow River dredging. Now, I see the 1.9. That's a change from the first public hearing. Where is this? Is it in the budget? Is it not?
No.
it is in the capital improvement plan, but it's funded from other sources. And we don't really know what it's going to cost.
This is pretty
But
close,
this is,
I
yeah.
think.
So we put together the grant, what was it? What's the grant name?
The
Discretional
Congressional
spending.
directed spending and the congressional, and the project grants. It's in there as a project that the town wants is pursuing, and the funding is listed as other sources. We will do that frequently with things that are funded by grants, and right now, we don't know the source of the funding.
Right.
Other than the possibility of getting those grants, or some other grants we're looking into, or the combination with the private-public partnership that we'll be working on once we know the dollar amount.
Thank you. And I
Right
know
now,
that there
there's no
are,
cost.
like, oh, sorry, did I interrupt?
Right now, there's no impact on the budget itself.
Yep. Just as long, I do know that there are projects that we go through that are forward-thinking, especially during the work sessions, that we'll talk about, but it'll be like 2 or 3 years down the road. As long as this is in consideration for the 2026 to 2027, just as a placeholder, you know, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just a quick question. So Jim, you said that we put sand on the beach. So I know we do that every year. I know what 200 yards is. Is that a number that brings us back to where we were last year somehow? And that's, who decides how many yards do we get to put on the beach?
I believe it's a combination of Parks and Recs working with the maintenance people and the vendor as they spread it out.
So, I guess, I mean, 200 yards is like, I don't know, 6 or 7 big trucks with sand in it, you know. It seems like there's an awful lot more sand down at the end of the beach than than there should be. So to be able to replenish the beach the way it was with 200 yards seems like a discount from what we're going to expect to take the sand out of the river down there. It's probably not giving us exactly what we want, but it's filling in a couple holes maybe, right?
I would say that's a good assessment.
I would also add, I think, during the permitting review and the application, that there are a lot of uses, and just to remind everyone that all the sand that's getting dredged is not necessarily adequately able to be used on a beach, so to speak, but whatever is, we want to make sure that it's getting put to good use. But I know it's, going to be meant towards dune restoration, building back up the land, prevent further erosion, weathering down there at the end of the beach. But I do know that there was also mention of possibly a very small percentage of some of that sand that gets dredged to be able to be used
Yeah, I think
on the
it was
town
like
beach as well.
700 yards.
Like 2%,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
small.
yeah.
But it was better than nothing. But anyway. Oh, sorry. Do you have anything else to add on this slide?
Nope, just glad that the dredging project is in there.
Oh, and actually, while we're talking about it, I don't know if this is just a soundbite. Is it Jeff Willis or Wills? Willis, thank you. Director of CRMC? Or, I just want to make sure I get his title correct. Yes? Thank you.
Executive Director.
He actually provided me with a really good recommendation because they've just recently had such great success with the Charlestown Breachway dredging project that took a couple years to get. But I'm not the finance expert here, so I just wanted to give a soundbite and share that he suggested that I agree with, that Narragansett create a dredging fund, so that way, similar to how CRMC gets allocated funds, if Narragansett was to pursue a project like this dredging or a long-term solution of being able to dredge, that's the ultimate goal here, is to have a long-term solution here. So that once we get through phase one, that ideally this gets more affordable every time we go to dredge or maintain the mouth of the river there. So I don't know what exists in that format if we have to create the fund, but it's something I was on board with based on what I heard.
Alex,
There's something, go ahead.
the plan going forward, once it's done, is to basically establish a maintenance account.
Perfect.
But it's premature until it's done, and it would be fiscal years moving forward.
Right, I just didn't know if it was appropriate to create such a fund without having to put anything in it yet at this time, or to create the fund should we get the funding, have a place to put it. So, not sure how that works, that's why I'm bringing it up, so.
I would say it's premature at the moment,
Okay,
but we'd have to research it a little more.
okay. Thank you. So I'm good on this slide. And I'm good on this slide. Anyone? Yep.
Here's Jim's.
Does anyone have any questions on this particular side? There's a lot on here, so.
So I have a question with regards to the transfers and promotions. Would those positions need to be backfilled if someone is promoted or someone's transferred?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
And a reminder to members on the council that this is the second public hearing, so if there's anything that you want added or removed for consideration, this is a time to speak up, as I know we're doing already, just as a friendly reminder. So I'm good with this.
So, you're good with it? Okay,
Well, I'm good with this slide. I don't have any questions.
okay. But, so the same positions that were on 2 weeks ago are still in the proposed budget?
This is them, yes.
That hasn't changed at all?
No,
Have you added anything more?
no.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions on this slide?
All right, I guess I'll say it. What would happen if we weren't okay with some of the additional headcount requests.
You just have to
Say it.
agree as a council and tell
It's-
Mr. Tierney to add or delete.
It's the council's job to discuss the proposed budget and whatever recommendations that they vote on for us to either involve ourselves in the discussion to support them, or whatever you vote, we'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, just as a reminder, the budget here as presented is not final. The final first pass of this budget will be read at the May 18th meeting. So anything that you gentlemen would like to propose to be added or removed, we can discuss it at this time, develop a consensus, and then they'll go back and address said changes.
But are you planning on closing the public hearing tonight?
Yes, I believe that's the standard order of
So,
operations.
right, so anything that should be said before we close the public hearing, right?
Right.
Okay.
Would you like to do it at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to just say I wasn't for the new positions previously, and I'm still not for them, so I haven't changed my mind on that.
Okay.
I'm good with the positions that are being promoted or transferred. I don't think those are net new positions. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
So I don't have any issues with that. Did you want to give a soundbite as to why at all? Just in case, you don't have to.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions or comments on what Mr. Durkin has shared?
So, Alex, I'm with you with regards to supporting the transfers and promotions, as those positions won't need to be backfilled. Thank you, Christine. I would support the DPW mechanic position, but beyond that, not particularly in favor of the Parks and Rec, heavy equipment operator, DPW driver, or finance specialist.
So I kind of agree with you on that. So here's my problem with new positions. New positions aren't just like they maintain, they stay, they grow, they cost the taxpayers more money as the years go by. So that's, if I want to give a soundbite as to why I wouldn't support those positions. But I do agree with supporting the transfers and probably the mechanic as well.
So I also know it's challenging to get a consensus when there's only 4 of us present here, but is there anything that you need for us to provide more clarity on to develop a consensus, or is the individual feedback good enough on this?
I guess the consensus we're going to need, right? You can tell me, or him, or Jim, sorry.
I think the general consensus.
General consensus would send us in the direction to amend
Yeah.
the budget for the first reading.
Okay. I mean, I think the general consensus here is to keep the transfer positions, as Ryan has articulated better than I am. And what were the other positions, Ryan, that I'm missing?
Wanted to proceed with the transfers and promotions, as well as the DPW mechanic position.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That I was good with, and I believe Councilor Colony shared the same. But yep. Okay. So that's the consensus
That's
on
a
that.
consensus, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything
Time
else?
for nope, go to this slide. For what's not budgeted, everyone's favorite slide. And I say that, well, I take that back. It's not very humorous as I thought it was going to be, but no. So the bike path engineering design as a capital project, I know that this council approved a path, and Mr. Tierney, you've shared extensive updates on this. I guess because I know there's funds that we don't want to lose. So where is that, like how is that going to be applied versus this $150,000? Like, could we just use those funds that are still that they have not been
I think
used yet?
Mr. Tierney
No.
can answer that, but
No?
The money that is set in the STIP is specifically for construction only. We asked them. They provided us an answer in writing, no. And I believe it was asked by someone here in council chambers one day. They said, what happens if the cost of the project itself were to go over $3 million? Then we own it. But in this case, the money is there for construction, but not for the engineering, design, and permitting.
So,
And I'm not even sure, there was one other component in there, said the possibility of having to do some archaeological studies, but it's unclear whether that would be covered under the construction or whether it would have to fall under an additional amount on top of the 150.
you know, that is interesting, and I don't want to get off track here, but because I know there's a lot on the agenda. But it is interesting that that didn't even come up at any point in time when considering the different bike path routes, that if this were to have gone through South County Museum, that path probably could have had a lot of pauses if, you know, you had to have a stop for archaeological reasons, hoping that whatever route, well, the route that was voted on, you know, does not have similar delays. But I would suggest to this council that the $150,000 for the bike path engineering and design, you know, it almost seems like we're at a standstill unless that gets put in the budget, because even though this council has voted on a path and it's being reviewed, there's risk of losing those funds if we can't move forward with a design.
You said it's being reviewed, the path?
Didn't we submit it to the state?
Oh, yeah, they have it, but
Yeah,
they won't do anything without the design and.
right, so
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. I
Thank
just wanted to
you
make
for-
sure that you're
No,
clear
thank
on
you
that.
for
Thanks.
making that more clear. This is a roadblock here, and I don't want this to be another year from now, and then it gets, oh, by the way, this is by the way. So I think it's a definite necessity that we put the $150,000 into the capital for this year. I don't know how you guys feel.
So, I read that Jim asked the state that specific question, and they came back. And I read something else, that there was a question about, you know, going over maybe the wetland there, and that might cost more if they have to design a bridge. So I think there could be some things that we as a council down the road could make it easier for design cost or cheaper, possibly. Jim, I don't know if we can do that before we put that out to, because that's an approximate number, right, at the 150?
That's an approximate number.
Yeah.
From Dupree, who we have been dealing with.
Right.
For the multiple different routes that they've been looking into for us.
Right.
It's a ballpark.
So is it possible that they design it and the state says they don't agree with the design, or do they work with the state in designing it so it's a done deal when they're finished?
Well, I do know, while doing part of it, they'll definitely have to deal with state agencies, but their exact relationship with them when they do that, I'm not sure, Jim. I'd have to look
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that, Alex, you're right. It's like we're not going to move forward. We have a chance of losing that $3 million, and that was one of our promises, to get that done while we're here. So I'm all for, you know, putting that into the budget of 2026, 27.
You guys have any opinion on it? Agree, disagree?
I don't think it's any surprise that I'm still not in favor of the route that was chosen. And I wouldn't want to put design money towards a route that I don't personally approve of. So I would not want to include it in this budget.
I would add, I believe, that in order for the state to even consider this, even in the review process, which they still have the opportunity to deny, that they can't consider any review until this engineering and design part has been completed. So even though I'm with you, Councilor Torrealde, that I'm not happy about the route that was chosen, I do not want to be the reason that this town does not move forward with the bike path consideration, that the consensus of the council at that time voted on the path. So I do think that this project should move forward with consideration. So that's why I want to see it in the budget. Councilor Colonies, do you agree?
I don't disagree. I'm still hung up on a bike skate park right now.
I know it's tough for you to be in favor of one at the expense of the other, but
Well, I'm trying to figure out how that's not true, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Can we talk about the unassigned fund balance a little?
Sure.
So what's the requirement by the state to have, to keep us in good standing to have an unassigned balance?
It's 10 to 16 is by ordinance.
There's no requirement by the state. It's just a government, a finance accounting practice that they keep it in that range,
Within the,
10 to 16.67%.
okay. So we're well within that range. then.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, is there an opportunity to take that and do the design?
Do the design,
For the bike trail, bike path?
oh, for the bike trail?
Or for the skate park, for that matter?
Yeah, yes.
Or for both?
About 700,000 brings it down 1%.
Yeah.
And we're at 23, was it 23.8 or something?
well, again, these are considerations to
23.8.
be added and removed. You
Right.
know, that's a recommendation as to where to find it, which I don't think you necessarily need a consensus on where you're going to find this money at this time. I think really what you're looking for is, you know, what we'd like to add and remove.
I'm just working through it out
No, I
loud.
think it's a really
No, that's
good
fine.
idea.
Yeah.
But I lean more towards the side of the dredging and dune restoration. But again, I think that what you've proposed here is a viable option. I know I have voiced my opinions about the pickleball resurfacing, and I mean no disappointment to our director back there, because we've worked for many years together, and I know how passionate she is on this. And I assume that is currently in the budget
The pickleball?
for the resurfacing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not resurfacing, it's reconstruction.
I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
both.
But the reconstruction and resurfacing needs to happen at the same time. Yeah. So, again, I know where Councilor Torrealde leans on this one, so it's just my opinion that if it can be in the budget, I would like for it to be in the budget, but it's just another option of where to find funds for other projects that I think I'm more in favor of. Just an idea.
So in, out,
Does anyone do you guys have an opinion as to whether or not you would like that in the budget or out?
I'd like it in the budget. I'd like
Okay.
I think the bike path engineering should be in the budget. I think some part of this skate park should be in the budget. And we have to deal with the dredging. And we have to deal with the sewers.
Right.
But
the sewers is
Sewers-
another fund.
The sewer,
the
This-
sewers
that
is
doesn't have
bigger
to do
than we
anything with
can
this
deal
fund.
with right now.
yeah.
What's that?
The sewers are bigger than we can deal with right now, and I think we're doing that on a smaller basis as far as making it comfortable for the time being. But I'm fine with these items for, being in the budget. So
Yeah,
that's what you're asking.
Okay. Well, I mean, based on that, then Councilor Torrealde, I assume that you're in favor of including the pickleball court restoration and construction in the budget.
If I'm not mistaken, this is already an ongoing project?
The pickleball is ongoing.
Yeah. So if it's in progress, I'd prefer to keep it
'Kay.
going. Building out and resurfacing the courts there. And just general park improvement.
Okay. So, Councilor Colonies, even if you disagreed, it would, at this point, it would stay in the budget since there's not enough of a consensus to remove it anyway, so.
Oh, I wouldn't,
But I'd like for you to share your feedback.
I wouldn't remove, I mean,
Okay.
I'd like you to see it on a smaller scale, but I think that has left the building, so.
Okay. Thank you. And another thing I would add too is that, again, this is why I encourage residents to revert to the work sessions that were had by each department head. There's a lot of questions that come in on costs, specifically for wastewater and sewer infrastructure. I'm very happy to report that, that this was a passionate issue, that this council worked with our department heads on that, and there will be action taken to improve our infrastructure. Again, as a reminder, there was a 20-year plan in place. There were different priorities made by other councils, and I am very happy that this is a council that has chosen to make it a priority to improve the sewer and wastewater infrastructure for the upcoming budget year. Oh, sorry, did somebody have a question on this one? Because I do have another question I need to ask.
I do have a
Oh,
question.
sorry, go ahead.
We just want to be clear what the consensus is, to be crystal clear on what's up there, what the consensus is.
On which item?
On this slide, I think.
On this slide in its entirety.
Okay, so I will share my feedback, and then you gentlemen can say if you agree with everything or you can disagree with everything. Because I personally, on this slide, the Affordable Housing Trust bond, I don't think that, unless the Affordable Housing Trust Collaborative has shared up until now that their desire to add one, I don't think it's necessary to add one
Okay.
at this time. Capital projects, I am in support of the bike path design, adding the fire station ballot and the wastewater treatment facilities plan ballot questions for consideration. That's a big skate park number, but those four I feel strongly about, and I'd like for the skate park to be in there, but I'll hear what the rest of the guys have to say.
I agree with Alex, and I'd like to see the skate park in there.
Okay. Anyone else? Or Councilor Torialde?
Again, agree with the exception of the bike path.
Okay. And Councilor Durkin?
Jim, I have a question. The Affordable Housing Trust, right, the additional bond note issuance needs. So I remember seeing the $500,000 for the purchase. That's a lending thing from the town to the Affordable Housing Trust in the budget, right?
Paid out of the general fund.
That's part of the 8.5 million that we're going to go to. Yes.
Okay.
It's already in the works.
Okay, so that doesn't,
That's
the first one
additional.
doesn't
I didn't know, yeah.
jeopardize that one? Okay, all right. Yeah. I'm fine with,
So it seems that the consensus is to add those two additional capital projects. Not unanimous, but it was consensus for the bike path and the skate park. And then the fire stations and wastewater facilities plan, those are two ballot questions. Just want to make sure that's very clear here.
Yes, those will come up later. The wastewater isn't in there right, on the agenda tonight, but the 3 million is on the agenda tonight.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that something that, that's something that I
Yes.
sponsored? Thank you.
You got it.
Appreciate it. And then the last question I had, because I know this is the last, I think this is the last slide, or next to last slide. It came up during our work sessions, a matter of litigation costs year over year. And to my surprise and delight, over the last year, the amount of litigation costs that this town had to incur were significantly lower than they've really ever been in quite some time. So I was just wondering if one of you has a soundbite that you could share as to what our litigation costs were and how much they were down to the year or two prior. If not,
We
then
don't
we
have
can
that
share it at the
available.
next meeting.
We can get it to you.
We
but
can
we
get
don't
it,
have
but we
available.
don't have
I know I had it, and I saw it. You know, I just think it was a really good thing for us to really be able to save costs anywhere that we can, and it's always reassuring that anytime this town can save money, especially on litigation costs, we should celebrate that more. So with that, I don't have any other additional questions on this. Does anyone else on the council have any questions or things they would like added or removed? And, you know, I would say speak now or forever hold your peace, but we do have an audience here who has an opportunity to speak as well. So you will have an opportunity to update your mind afterwards.
With regards to vehicles and the vehicle replacement plans held in the capital improvements budgets, the only one I'm really in support of is just the public works vehicle replacements. I don't know where the rest of you all stand with regards to the others, but I would only want to support and fund the public works vehicles.
I believe there is one for water, one for wastewater, which is an enterprise fund, not part of the operating. The DPW vehicles and 2 police vehicles.
Yep. Water and wastewater I'd support as well. Water and wastewater I would support as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just so there's no confusion, the original request that came to me was for 4 patrol vehicles for the police, an administrative vehicle, an ACO vehicle, and the associated mobile data terminals. So 6 total vehicles requested, and what's before you this evening is 2. For DPW, there were 5 vehicles, and going to you is 3. Actually, it's like 2.5. We had the different funding for the VACTA. And Parks and Recs had 2. What came to you is 0. Just to give you a perspective on it.
Jim, I think I asked Chris, maybe, do we have an inventory list of our vehicles that from year to year we could say, well, we had 50 vehicles this year? How do you guys track vehicles?
Year to year, I know DPW has some software. I have a most recent schedule of vehicles, because we were looking at maybe leasing. But what was cut year over year, I'd have to look at each budget.
Yeah. I'm not saying we don't need them. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I don't even know if we definitely need them or not, but it appears to me we have a lot of vehicles. But, yeah, I mean,
I think a lot of these, though, again, are not net new. It's replacing vehicles that we currently already have.
Correct. It's
So,
vehicle replacement schedule.
still doesn't prove that we need them if we're just replacing them, you know.
Well, that's why we need a new mechanic.
Oh, well, good point. Good point. And that, well, yeah. Well, we have to talk about that.
so, yeah. I mean, I'm good with the vehicles that have been presented. I think that knowing these department heads and, you know, where they've made their difficult decisions, and I support that if there's a need, that they know why, and I would support it. But again, I think that this is the general feedback that we're providing here. I don't think there's necessarily a consensus that you need. I support, as presented, the vehicles that are in this. I know that it's a little less than the first pass, so I feel good that we've already trimmed down some fat there. And I just want, again, for everyone here's sake of sanity, Is there a consensus? Like, I feel good about the vehicles that are in here. Councilor Torialde is proposing to only keep the, did you write them down? The
Water, wastewater,
water,
DPW.
water, wastewater, and DPW. Do you guys feel good with the vehicles that have been presented, or would you rather align to Councilor Torialde's
I'll go with Ryan.
and Councilor Colony's?
I'm going to think about it for like this meeting.
Okay. So this does not end the public hearing at this juncture for this, but there is no consensus to remove it, so we'll leave it in until a consensus has been reached. So with that, I think we'll move on to the public's comment portion.
If I could say one more thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Just for future reference, we have a pension fund, and we are getting dangerously close to having more pensioners than we have active employees putting into the pension. So just something to think about when people ask for new positions. You didn't know that, but I'm just putting it out there. Can you repeat that? Yes, we're getting dangerously close to having more retirees than active employees. And the active employees is what feeds the pension. So it's a negative to have on your pension. We don't have enough employees putting in money, contributions.
Oh, yeah.
Good?
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For this very thorough presentation and for your patience in answering our questions. So with that, we will turn it over. Oh, sorry. Do you have any questions?
I just wanted to thank the staff and
Oh,
Christine
absolutely.
for their diligence in working with me and Christine at awful lot of time with them.
Well, I'm sure as a result, though, you've gotten to really know them all as the wonderful staff that we have here in town. So with that, does anyone wish to speak, Dr. Alba, for the public hearing portion? And when you get up to speak, you'll answer a couple questions.
Please raise your right hand. Wait a minute. Please raise your right hand.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give in the matter now and hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your full name for the
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace in Narragansett, Rhode Island.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I got a couple of questions on the budget. One, I saw that there was a $30,000 allegation for Sunset Farms. Now, is that for Kenny Bungalow? Is that for the structure that we own, or where's that money appropriating to? Because obviously, if it's going for the restoration or upkeep for that property, that would make sense. But if it's not, and they have their business there, you know, and I'm all support of business, but we're not supposed to be, you know, our taxpayers' dollars shouldn't be supporting the business. So if you can answer that question, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, if Mr. Durkin, if you have the answer, otherwise
I believe it's the roof on the building,
It's the roof on Kenny Bungalow,
on the bond.
on the bond?
Jim might be,
So we own the bond? That's our property?
Mr. Durkin is correct. It is the
Yes.
bond.
Okay, so Narragansett owns the bond then. That's our property. It's not owned by the family, the Farrell family.
Whatever is in the budget, it is town property and allocated by the town.
Okay,
It's not
that's what I
private
wanted to make
entity.
sure, you know, like, I don't mind, because like I saw, we had a bid up for sale on the property on Middlebridge for a restaurant, and when I go by that property, it's in such disrepair. I would have liked to see some appropriation for the money to restore some of those houses and also that restaurant, because I don't see who is going to do a bid for that restaurant, and it's in deplorable condition. I don't even know if it's safe to someone to even have a cafe in there. So that should be looked into. I don't know if the building inspector can take a look at it, but it doesn't look fit for a cafe. So I thought it was kind of ridiculous to even post that for a bid, because the paint is peeling, the siding is rotting out. Maybe we could have Keith Lescarbot of Abcor give us a bid for that, and he does good quality work. So my other questions are in regards to the dredging. That's with the assumption that we're going to be getting 100% funding. Now, I recall last time when it went up, we didn't get one dime, to the dismay of Representative Carol Hagan McEntee walked out there with Senator Whitehouse and others. So there's no guarantee that we're going to be getting any kind of monies at all. And my concern is also, you know, we have an appropriate, they said about in regards to the fire, you know, I guess they don't have it access there, but I guess a $3 million piece of money for the, I guess, fire structures. I don't know what that's all about, but I don't know if you guys can elaborate. That would be important, because one of the things I have found contacting cities and towns who said, you're on point, Dr. Alba. The more people we have in Narragansett, the more fire and rescue and maybe bigger facilities we're going to have to spend. And like I said, money doesn't grow on trees, and if they're asking for $3 million for a bond, if we amortize that plus interest over time, we already saw a 4% projection. But that's under the assumption we're probably not going to have any major significant capital improvements. Now also, when we're going to be asking for, when I was here and I heard the upgrade for a sewage treatment program of 300, of what? Yeah, it was $100 million, 100 million bucks. So if we have to get a sewage upgrade for $100 million, I would like to see the projections. I would like you to put forth the numbers to show the taxpayers what we would have to pay in taxes to fund a $100 million upgrade for our sewage treatment. And I applaud, you know, I'm all against litigation to some extent, but on the other hand, we do have to fight for what's right. So, you know, we might be saving money, saying we're not saving any money on litigation, we're saving money on litigation, but on the other hand, if it's going to end up costing us $100 million for a new upgrade water treatment center, that's a heck of a lot more than I think any savings we're going to get from litigation. So these are the things that go through my mind, because we as taxpayers, people, not everyone in Narragansett is independently wealthy. I know the very high percentage of investors who are making money, and when the tax bill comes along, they're going to pass that along to the people who are renting the property. They might pass it along to college kids because mom and dad has funds to spend on them. But we have other families that are hardworking that are on fixed income. So when we have that, you know, you say we're going to be putting this here on the ballot, it should be spelled out not only the cost that's a $3 million bond, $3 million bond, or for any upgrades for the sewage treatment center, $100 million bond. I would like to see also on our ballots the total cost projected over X amount of years, how much it's going to cost us with interest. So that way there, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, we'll vote them down. We'll say, we can't afford this. This is going to cost, and if we can also see what the projected increase in our taxes will be, that's also very valid, because if someone's going to be priced out of house and home, then they're not going to vote for that $3 million you know, fire structure, or they're not going to vote for the $100 million sewage treatment, because they're not going to be able to live in Narragansett, and they're going to roll the dice, and I would too. So these are the considerations we need to consider. This is why other cities, and we're going to discuss this later, but this is why other cities and towns are fighting back against this build, build, build mentality. Thank you.
Thank you. And what I will just add, Dr. Alba, is in regards to the sewer and wastewater treatment facility and the $100 million cost, this has been something that's been in the 20-year plan for quite some time, and the longer that we put this off, the more expensive it's going to be. Infrastructure, as I'm sure that you know and have agreed with, because you've spoken on it many times before, is a necessity, that infrastructure needs to be improved and invested in. I agree with you that if it's going to be on the ballot, that we need to be as transparent to the...
But out of all due respect, President, when I've been reaching out to these other town councils and the town council presidents, and they're getting back to me, they say we have to put a pause on building. We've got to put a moratorium, because we don't want to have to invest in a new wastewater treatment center. We can survive at the status quo. So the reason being is if we keep building, 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 and have more and more people pouring more, and, you know, we have a water shortage, we have a water supply shortage. Our infrastructure, you know, I mean, look at what's happening in North Kingstown. They're proposing to put a sludge. I mean, they might say, you know what, you got such a high population in Narragansett, you know, let's go full force. Let's look into maybe a huge sludge facility. So there's got to be, every city and town has a carrying capacity. You know, I was against the carrying capacity for the beach, but I am totally for the carrying capacity for the town of Narragansett. And other town council presidents and vice presidents have gotten back to me and said, you're on point, Dr. Alba. You cannot just keep inundating us with more and more people. And they say it's under the guise of affordable housing. And the speaker, you know, he wants to build. His brother's a multi-billion dollar investor. He's buying $5-6 million properties left and right. So there's a method to this. You know, we know he's a real estate lawyer. So people are not blind. I can see this. You know what I'm saying? So, and the average person can tell you that investors are going to buy investment property in Narragansett. Look what happened on Ocean Road. What did Proxanti and Palino did? We had rent-controlled property. They bought it out. Gilbane did the same thing. So these multi-billion dollar owners, what they do is they buy out affordable housing units and they transform them into multi-million dollar properties. This is a known fact. I'm not making this up. If this town was serious, we would have never allowed Proxanti and Palino to buy out that property. We could have put a stop to it, or the speaker, or something. But the thing is, if we're allowing multi-billion dollars to buy out these affordable housing properties, it's like, what are we doing? We're saying we're for affordable housing, and then we have Gilbane, my priest, Father Hogan. He actually lived in one of those condos. He goes, it was rent controlled. That was prior to Gilbane buying it out, and then the properties they sold them for, you know, $600,000-$700,000 a unit. You know, so this is the thing. You know, so we got to consider these facts. You know, and to just say that, you know, we need a new sewage treatment center because we've been kicking the can down the road. Well, I don't know about that. We've been kicking the can down the road. You know, if we end up having, that's why we have a comprehensive plan. We've had the comprehensive plan. We had the Crane report. The Crane report for a reason. The smart people put that together. We had the Narragansett comprehensive plan, the Crane report. So I'm just trying to share this with you guys to enlighten you guys. But thank you.
Thank you. And I don't disagree with Dr. Alba's testimony here. The reason why many of the actions, especially that are being prioritized during this budget cycle, are because they agree with the comprehensive plan in the Crane report. Instead of taking a back seat on prioritizing the upkeep of our sewer and wastewater infrastructure, there is a number that's been allocated to it. Is it $100 million that this town has to make note of in this one particular budget cycle? No. You put a number on a project, and then over X number of years, that's how the town budgets for a larger project like that. And I agree, you know, again, with many of the things that you've shared, and, you know, we'll continue to talk about this evening. But I want to move forward with, is there anyone else here who wishes to speak for the public hearing? Really? Oh, okay. Mr. Friday. I was like, there's no way we could have covered everything. So thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give in the matter now in hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your full name for the record.
Rupert Friday, and it's R-U-P-E-R-T, and Friday like the day of the week.
Thank you.
I wanted to speak on the item of the bike path, and I'm in agreement with Mr. Torielde about the selected path, but I think that money should be put in for the design of the bike path, at least through Sprague Park. I think there was consensus about the bike path through Sprague Park. And I think that money should be in there for the design. And I think for the health of Rosemary and David Smith, it needs to be in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give in the matter now in hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your full name for the record.
Mark, M-A-R-K. Crook, C-R-O-O-K.
Thank you.
I just want to bring up a quick point that, you know, with families, with business, that there are limited funding, and you have to make a decision of what the priorities are. what the necessities are and what's on the wish list. But it seems, like in government, that the wish list is just folded in to what's considered the necessities. So I bring up the example of the conversation tonight where seemingly you are willing to nix the requests and needs of the safety of Narragansett, meaning the Narragansett Police Department requesting new cars, and take that money and put it into a skate park that you have, it's not $6,000, it's not $60,000, it's $600,000. But yet, you've shown no information or gotten no information that's been presented at this meeting relative to how many families are there that are going to use that park. Mr. Collins makes a statement, well, I have many families that are counting on this. Well, exactly what is that figure? It would seem to me like instead of going by wants, that you need some specific information in making these financial decisions. My background is business, and it just is unbelievable to watch this process compared to what business goes through to make these financial decisions. Your job is not to pick out pet projects. Your job is to figure out what this money that the town payers are giving you is to be used for, what the necessities and priorities are. Obviously, we have water issues and we have sewage issues. That's a priority. So, you know, the first conversation is, you're not going to have enough money to do everything you want. You got to have priorities and necessities. And then you see, is there anything on the wish list that we can accommodate the public with? You know, I don't know what your business background is or your financial background is. I assume that Christine has a financial background in her position. So, you know, these people are giving you recommendations from a standpoint of experience and education. As a resident, I would hope that you give their recommendations some very serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here wish to provide some comment for the public hearing? Seeing none. Again, I would just in response to Mr. Crook that there was an extensive number of conversations that were had during work sessions in which we considered every department head's budget, as well as also sharing in agreement that there are a number of priorities that were shared during those work sessions. Some of them shared this evening, not all. This is the second public hearing on this, and yes, difficult decisions need to be made. Difficult decisions have been made to get to this point. There is no consensus that has been made in regards to the vehicles, whether or not they should or should not be included. I myself shared in the support of keeping the vehicles in the budget as they've been presented. I know when they were originally presented that we asked those questions and that they came back to us with this revised version, and I appreciate exactly how it's been presented. But I don't know if, in the bike path, I agree with what's also been shared. Again, I'm not in favor of the bike path that's been chosen, but I don't want to be the reason for it not moving forward with consideration from the state and having them do the review as well. I would be interested, I know Counselor Vignali is not here, but she does have the opportunity to provide an email to Mr. Tierney and Christine as well between now and the next first reading, which will be on the 18th. But I will ask that she provide, if she has not done so, her thoughts on things as well. But, you know, I'm torn on that as well. But does anyone else have anything they would like to add? Any final thoughts? All right. With that,
I would
oh,
request that you don't close the public hearing, because in my position and Christine's, we have some questions for the council that we need answered before we move forward. So for the consensus for the evening on the positions, for the 4 positions that are currently in the budget, the consensus was to not fund 3 of those, but keep the mechanics position from DPW. Is that correct?
as well as the transfers. Is that what you said?
Yeah, and the transfers and the promotions, yes.
And the promotions?
Yep.
Yes.
And the consensus on the not budgeted items, which included the Affordable Housing Trust, additional bond note issuance needs, the consensus was to leave it as it is until such time as a project comes about for it to be considered. And under the 4 capital projects that are listed on that page, the bike path engineering and design, approximately $150K, skate park construction and build, approximately $600K, and the ballot questions for fire stations 1 and 3, and the $3 million bond, and the potential ballot questions for the wastewater treatment facility. And the consensus, I believe, was that the council was in favor of maintaining those, and one council member wanted to stay away from the bike path, but there was a consensus on those items. Is that correct?
Yes.
On the skate park construction build, I do believe that if it costs that much, if it comes up to $600,000, it should be spread out over several years into the capital program. That's the recommendation.
My recommendation on that would be actually to cut that in half in hopes that we fundraise the remaining portion. That's my thought. I don't know how anyone else feels, but I don't think $600,000 being allocated to the skate park in its entirety at this juncture is necessary, but if we can allocate half of it and then hopefully raise the second half. I do know that the school committee was successful in raising funds for their playground, so similarly, I feel confident that the second half should be able to be fundraised within a reasonable amount of time. That's just my thoughts. Does anyone agree with that? If not, then that's just a thought.
I could agree with it, but not make it contingent upon it. You know, like I wouldn't want to, I'd want to budget 300, try to raise the 300. If we can't, we have to deal with it a different way.
Okay.
I don't mind fundraising at all. I'll be the first one to help on that.
Alex, I support your initiative on this.
Okay.
But Jim, you're saying keep it in there, do the fundraising, then take it out once we raise the funds. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure how, I didn't see that coming, so I wasn't sure.
I think there's a general consensus that we want the project in there. It's how much to be allocated to it. And I think that, you know, there's room for consideration that we can fundraise a portion of it and like that number can be flexible between 300,000 and 600,000. Is that flexible enough for you, Christine, or do you need something more?
A little firmer.
Direct. You need something more firm? Okay, so I would be in support of the 300,000 and fundraising the other 300,000.
Me as well.
And if you don't have an agreement on this at this time, then we just proceed with no consensus on that.
And we can talk about it at a different time.
This is the last time to talk about it. The next juncture is the first reading, at which case you really want to be able to talk about really what's in the first reading of the budget and not make any issue with anything that's left in there.
But we can think and email the
Right,
town
you can
manager.
still email and do all that, yes. So you want to just leave it with no consensus on this until a consensus is met? I mean, it really should be now, if possible.
A possible way, Chris was doing the math while we're up here. If it was to be 300, and then on the capital sheet, you indicate other sources of funding, and
Okay,
over a 2-year period, maybe 150, and that could be a combination of grants and/or fundraising.
okay, I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a consensus on all of that.
Yep.
The next one is vehicles.
Yes. So I am good with the trimmed-down version of the vehicles as they've been presented. I know this council had a lot of questions for vehicles, which I thought every department head, was readily and able to provide us with those responses. And, I've heard some of those concerns shared this evening. While we're not voting on the specific vehicles, it's good to know that there is a general consensus of support for these vehicles. I'm good with them as they've been presented, but what we really need here is if you guys do not want any vehicles to be considered in this budget cycle, to say what specifically are those vehicles that you don't want considered. If not, then the consensus should be to move forward with them as presented.
I'm just going to say the ones I'm in support of, once again, that is water, wastewater, and DPW. I believe that leaves Parks and Rec and Police.
Parks and Recs has none. I already cut them.
Okay, thank you.
Cut 2 of their vehicles. Police have already cut 4.
Yeah, it's been trimmed down significantly since the last public hearing.
It has.
Yeah, so I can support that
Support as presented?
as presented.
Okay. How about you, Counselor Durkin?
And we're getting a mechanic.
And you're getting a mechanic.
I can do that.
There's a consensus.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, are we okay to close the hearing now? Mr. Tierney?
Christine, do you have any other concerns?
All right.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And again, sincere thanks to Jim, Christine, Sarah, all of our department heads for the incredible amount of time that you've presented these budgets for us, as well as getting everything to us a month earlier than where we were last year. So really, really incredible job. And with that, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. And we will take a brief 5-minute recess as requested from a member of the council. Thank you. All right, ready? All right. Welcome back. So we are now moving on to the consent agenda portion of the evening. Is there a motion to approve as presented consent agenda items D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, D8, and D9?
Motion to approve D1 through D9.
Second.
Any discussion?
See you all at the blessing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. On to new business under Town Council is item E1. Is there a motion to amend the approval granted by the Town Council on February 2nd, 2026 from request for proposals for an administrator of a homeowner incentive program to request for proposals for creation, implementation, and administration of a homeowner rental incentive program aimed at providing year-round housing to residents and workers in the town of Narragansett?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. So I believe, Councilor Durkin, that this is your item. Do you have a soundbite on this?
This is from the Affordable Housing Trust, and I'm the liaison for them, and this is just a correction of an approval that was granted earlier on, and I think that's it. That's enough to be said. I don't think Cliff didn't come to explain it, but it was explained thoroughly.
Yep. At the February 2nd meeting. And then I think this is probably just a language update probably,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So, anyone else on the council have any questions? Nope. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Sarah, can you just remind me who seconded that motion? Jason, thank you. All right, on to item E2. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution requesting the General Assembly to pass legislation authorizing a proposed referendum to approve the town's issuance of $3 million in bonds and/or notes for the equipping, expansion, improvement, and renovation of fire stations within the town of Narragansett?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Discussion. So this is, again, what was alluded to already this evening. And it was the consensus during the work session at the time was to include this as a bond initiative. So that's exactly what you see here. And this is also an item, one second, that is being sponsored by both myself and the Chief Partington. And I would ask the council's support on this. Does anyone on the council have any questions or comments? Anyone from the public? Dr. Alba.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, there you go. So I don't know if the chief can come up and explain, $3 million, that's a big chunk of change. And what that's actually going to be used for. And I would also, going forward, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if Finance Director, who's over here, maybe she can do this for us. But anytime an item this large, $3 million, goes up on the bond, on the ballot, it would be nice if we can have the projection of costs to pay off that bond. And if that also could be tabled, and just like she eloquently had over here, the projection of costs for the projected years for 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, to show what the projected increases will be. If we're going to be spending monies on this, is it an absolute need? Like the gentleman said earlier today, wants versus needs. We have to, and Stan Wojciechowski would always say that. God bless him. I hope he's doing well. But we got to look at, what we actually need. Because, like I said, we have a lot of seniors. They say, the taxes are going up. Sure, our house prices are going up, but that doesn't do me any good because I don't have a lot of money in the bank. I want to stay living here. So I got a couple of questions is, First of all, exactly, if the chief can explain exactly what that money's being used for, you know, like you said, you know, we only need so many cars, but that's a big chunk of change. I'd like to see exactly what that's for, and also what the projected cost will be to pay off that bond, and what the effect will be on our taxes in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. That's all going to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Alba, what I will add is that the chief has already provided a very lengthy amount of discussion as to what this $3 million bond initiative is for and how it will be utilized. Under the suggested action of this item, it actually spells out, I think, pretty well what this $3 million bond will be used for. I do agree with you that if there's any way in which, when this language does get presented on the ballot, what this will mean to the individual taxpayer, I would like for that to be considered as well. But again, when you're looking at the safety of our community and those who are protecting and serving our community, this, I think, is very much a necessity project for this town. And, you know, we're talking about expansion. You know, they're celebrating in South Kingstown, opening up a new fire station. You know, I don't think you can really even question for a second the necessity of expansion, especially when we're talking about consideration of protecting our residents in this town. So with that, does anyone else have any questions or comments on this or from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item E3. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance of not more than 1.1, I should probably read it as not more than $1,100,000.00 term notes of the town of Narragansett for the purpose of financing the purchase of a fire truck and related equipment?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Discussion. So again, just to be clear, and Mr. Tierney, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is already in the budget. That's why we're voting on it. And this was something that, again, was described as a necessity, and it's replacing a vehicle that's already well outdated. Is that correct?
In sum and substance, correct.
Okay.
It's so, because it's 2 years, it basically gives the town the authority, the blessing of the council to order the piece of equipment now that takes 2 years to deliver.
Okay. Anyone else on the council have questions? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oop, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Nay.
Motion passes 3-1 with Councilor Torialde voting in the negative. On to item E4. Is there a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 74 titled Traffic and Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, by adding Section 7438 entitled Narragansett Fishing Vehicle Parking Permits Purpose?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. So that was a little bit of a tongue twister there. I was able to get it out, so relieved. But this is an initiative that's coming out of the Coastal Access Improvement Committee. One way in which we're working to improve access to these incredible resources in our town is by opening up this opportunity for fishermen and women to being able to access additional areas in town with parking designated for certain time of day, to be able to park there to fish, and then after their permitted time, they would, then they would have to leave. But again, this is about improving coastal access for fishermen and women to be able to use these rights of way to being able to fish. So, is there anyone, Mr. Durkin, you have any questions or comments on this? I saw your microphone.
Oh, sorry. No, I think this is very valuable. And did you mention the time frames that it?
I didn't. It's
Yeah.
in there.
Actually, the time frames that the fishermen fish are evening till in the morning, so this is why we had to do this, to allow them to do that. So I'm sure it's not going to interfere with anybody's privacy.
Right, and just to be clear, the solicitors provided feedback that suggested not only did we need to create a resolution, but we needed to modify the ordinance on record, so that's why you're seeing two different parts here of something that seems similar. Anyone else on the council have any questions or comments on this?
No, I remember being in a meeting talking to the fishermen, fisherwomen, fishing women, and they're very excited about this coming to fruition. So,
And thank you for having those conversations. I would add that this is not the full ask that was initially presented. There was a lot of dialogue that was had with different representatives, legal representatives, fishermen and women who use the area to fish, and I think there was at least 4 roads that were proposed, maybe more, and this final version is trimmed down to the select couple. And with that, there is no issues regarding the concern for emergency vehicles being able to get in and out of here while parking is allowed. That was a big part for me. I wanted to make sure that if there was any additional parking that we were allowing, that it was not going to interfere with emergency vehicles from being able to access those roads and get in and out of there. With that, does anyone from the public have any comments on this? Dr. Alba?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Okay, it's on. I guess I could tell by the light, right? But yeah. So I'm not familiar with these locations. Is there going to be a fee to get this fishing parking permit? How does one qualify if one's interested?
Oh, those are good questions. I'll let you keep your time, but I'll be happy to answer your questions right after this.
Okay, so that would be a concern, and I know near the Hazard Rock area there, I know there's limited parking there as well. You know, and there are a lot of other beautiful fishing locations throughout. So I don't know if these other areas might be considered as well. And like I said, you know, it's all about, you know, keeping our coast and our right-of-ways available. And you know, this is another reason why cities and towns, you know, I sound like a broken record, but this is why a lot of them are adopting what the Portsmouth resolution. I know we're going to be discussing that shortly. But if you can address that question in regards, how does one apply? And is it only located, that parking permit, is it only going to be used at those 2 locations or elsewhere? Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe there's probably an order of operations issue here. Maybe we should have discussed one versus the other, but I think actually we had to approve the ordinance before we consider the resolution. Is that correct? Oh, it's in the, okay. So in order to receive this, you have to have a valid state fishing license, and you would come down. I believe the intent is for it to be at the town hall, and then you would pay the fee and show your proof of having that permit, and then they would be able to get a pass for that particular area. This is a similar model that Newport is already doing. So when it was presented to the Coastal Access Improvement Committee and then subsequently reviewed by the Parking Subcommittee, those were a lot of the questions and dialogue that we had in place. But once and if this gets approved, you would need to have a valid state fishing license. You will have had to pay for that permit, and then you will need to present that at the town hall with the proper registration information, and they would be able to issue that permit to you. Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item E5. Is there a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading, a resolution amending the official list of parking restrictions and regulations in the town of Narragansett in accordance with the Narragansett Code of Ordinances to update the restrictions for Conant Avenue and Louise Avenue to include the provision for allowance of parking with a fishing parking permit.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. So this is the continuation of the discussion from the last item. Now that the consensus has been made to make these changes, this is what the actual language will now be amended to in order to include those two streets. Anyone on the council have questions on this? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item E6. Is there a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 74 Traffic and Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island by adding Section 7439 entitled Residential Parking Program?
Second.
Discussion.
So, basically, this is a amendment to the ordinance now, and it allows residents from Narragansett the ability to have free parking on all town roads in town. And so it doesn't eliminate other people's parking, it just allows them to park for free in addition. So where there's time parking and it's 2 to 3 hours, those signs will stay posted, but a resident who has a resident parking pass will be able to stay there longer.
So we had a bunch of meetings about this with the subcommittee, and and this is what it turned into. I think it's a great ordinance and a good opportunity for all of the full-time residents of Narragansett. So I'm pretty excited to hopefully get this done.
I think you should just echo that again, because I had reservations about offering a luxury pass like this to anyone who's a short-term rental owner or only here for a short period of time. That this is meant for full-time residents, those who are here for who qualify for the homestead tax exemption. You've pretty much listed it
And
out
a
here.
year-round lease.
And a year-round lease.
Yeah.
Anyone with a homestead exemption and year-round race, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Mimic him double.
And I assume throughout this process that you two have worked on this, you worked with the police, is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Who did you work with, if you don't mind me asking?
We worked with the police, we worked with the town manager, we worked with that one time we worked with Parks and Recreation. We worked with one of the residents in town. We worked with some business owners that came to our meetings. And we also worked with the fishing people that came from the Ocean Access Committee meetings. And this is the best we came up with, and it might not be perfect, but I think we should give it a shot.
I think it's a great beginning, definitely.
I mean, I agree, and I appreciate that this is more, we try to find ways to incentivize year-round property owners. I applaud this effort. I'm going to share the same concerns that I've shared before, just so that these concerns can be answered. My initial concern is the abuse of this permit, potentially, and this is not a dig at residents, this is just me asking that residents and whomever should get a pass like this knows exactly how this pass should be used. And I don't think, based on how I read this, and again, I'm naive on some things, but as I read this initially, it was not clear to me as to where in town this permit would be, allow me to park in town. Because I know that there's definitely areas in town that say no parking, and there's a reason for it, because an emergency vehicle needs to be able to get in and out of a neighborhood, or in this particular area in town. And I applaud that this parking permit is trying to increase access for our residents, but I also don't want, I don't want residents to be parking at the playground off of Boone Street and ignoring signs that say you should be utilizing this parking space in order to use this playground. And the way in which, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I'm sure I know that's not the intent here, but I bring this concern up because I don't want this to be an opportunity for residents to be able to just come in and say, hey, the ordinances and everything apply to everyone else, just not me. And my concern is the abuse of this privilege and enforcement, quite frankly. I think we have ordinances on the books that are already challenging to enforce. And I know that when you have a permit, it's clear, cut, and dry, and I know that this can be enforced. It's just when I'm just trying to get a better idea of how much ground we're looking at in town, how much area that this would apply to.
So it's clear that it's only the roads, so it doesn't include the parks. It's the roads, it's the town roads.
So you would not be able to, based on that,
Yeah.
you would not be able to park in any of the parking spaces at
Right.
the playground?
Right,
Okay.
right.
And again, for me, what I've asked that I thought would be beneficial for the town, especially anyone who would consider this, is to see a map of the special areas in which this would be referenced to. I know that some of us up here are, better versed of streets around the town, but and then my follow-up question would be, how do we go about communicating this to residents, letting them know that such an opportunity now exists? Are we going to be advertising this? Are we just going to be using social media, word of mouth? Oh, won't be using media? Oh. Oh, right. Well, that's the other question, which I appreciate, especially when we're considering budget here. What is the cost of purchasing the number of passes? How many passes are we going to be purchasing? Again, do we have an idea of an approximate initial number of passes that we want to buy? Just curious.
I don't think we do.
No.
Okay. Well, again, I support this. It's just those concerns that I wanted to share, especially concerns when it comes to enforcement and being very specific about the areas in which this would apply, especially considering we just approved 2 areas in town to increase access for fishing. Would somebody who gets this pass be able to use this pass in place of a fishing pass, be able to utilize that same area and just ignore what time they can leave?
So, as far as if the area says no parking, which a lot of the streets in Narragansett have no parking on one side, and then they have some type of time parking on the other side, or some kind of limited parking or whatever. So you would never be able to park on the side that says no parking. That's prohibited parking. So you'd never be able to park in front of a fire hydrant. You'd never be able to park in front of a loading zone. You'd never be able to park in front of a permitted spot that was permitted to a homeowner because of some kind of disability, where he has a spot in front of their home. So that would not be counted. Where else? Where there's lines drawn in the street, like where you just can't park. So it's for a legal parking spot. The town residents who pay the taxes to build the road should have equal opportunity to park throughout town. That was our thought.
So can you, again, and I appreciate this, and I appreciate you answering that there's not going to be any violations of, with the no parking, that if it says no parking, that people aren't just going to buy this pass and be able to park there. That's not what it's intended.
Correct.
But do you have like an example of like where specifically in town that this would,
So for
improve?
instance, like the other evening, I came to the council meeting and I parked on Central Street over here and, or Central Street, I guess it is. And it said no parking from a certain time of the year to another certain time of the year, which I wasn't there, but if it was, so we had our council meeting, and then we met there. I had to park there because of the construction, but it was time parking, and I didn't come home. I went somewhere after the meeting. I think it was when we went to the coastal, I think it was when we went to the Coastal Resources meeting. And then I came back, it was after the time. I wouldn't, if I had that sticker, I would not be penalized. So that sticker would be, on your left windshield underneath, and hopefully it's something like this. Sarah had given me these. She had those.
President Mendes, can I jump in for 1 second? I
Yeah.
can use an example for you that we just did with the commercial parking permit.
Okay.
Fishing parking permit, excuse me. For instance, like Conant and Louise Avenue, they have no parking between 9 PM and 5 AM. So the fishing permit would allow somebody to park during that time, but the residential parking permit would not let a resident park overnight because that street is restricted from overnight parking.
Okay.
And it's in the street parking ordinance. We have a street parking ordinance, that's what we just amended with the Conant and Louise Avenue, and it's very specific as to where parking is allowed, what side of the street, what times you can park there, so the residents can reference that parking ordinance.
So what about like neighborhoods like Pettaquamskett, where there's an Edgewater? Well, maybe Pettaquamskett's a better example. That there's a lot of areas that are supposedly not allowed to park in the street, but it's not very well. There's not. It's not a lot of signs that are put up, I should say, as to make it clear. But would this pass allow residents to park on those streets?
It wouldn't allow a resident to park in a no parking zone. If it was a no parking
Oh,
zone,
sorry.
it means no parking, period.
Thank you.
And if it's a timed spot on a town road, like Jim had said, it would exempt year-round residents, either through homestead or through a year-round lease, to park in excess of those times.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And if we're talking process here, should this pass, what do we tell residents, like, what is required and where do they go to get it?
I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
But it's in the ordinance, it's issued by the clerk's office. And each person that does come in to get one, we will provide them with, similar to a Q&A form, handing them to them, going, these are the rules.
Yep. So I would recommend that, just for consideration as you're putting together this packet, to consider specifying streets if possible. I know there's a lot of work involved here, but whatever we can to very clearly articulate what can and cannot. And I think, the more that people read into this, it does become clear. I just want to make it exceptionally clear that anyone who picks up one of these passes does not abuse it and say, hey, guess what? I can park here because I have this, but in actuality, the amendment does not permit you to do that.
We plan to provide categories and spoon feed the recipient of the pass.
Yeah,
they're
and there is
written so
special language
clearly.
in there that the town manager can take away the right to have the parking pass if you violate the ordinance or abuse the ordinance. So that's towards the end of it. You'll see
Yeah,
there's a
I do see that.
$500
And any
fine.
abuses of it would be channeled through municipal court or the police department.
Are you okay with being designated as that individual as opposed to like the chief of police or someone else?
It's fine, because it would go through, I would channel it through municipal court, just, that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else on the council have any other questions or comments?
Broadly speaking, I am in favor. My concern just comes into safety on town roads where there isn't necessarily a breakdown lane and the roads are kind of narrow. Just calling out, potential issues with, maybe blind corners, who's parking there, and just potential danger surrounding that.
So if you see it, Ryan, it says legal parking spot. So it has to be you know what I mean? Like, it has to be like a parking spot that exists now. And usually there's lines for that. So I think the police officers have the ability to give a ticket if it's not considered a legal parking spot. The legal
If it's
parking
not considered a legal parking spot, Ryan, if I could interrupt for a minute, Jim, the police have the authority to tow a vehicle that's parked blocking a roadway without even any signage. If it's in the roadway and it's not a parking spot, they could tow it. These parking permits would only permit those who are qualified for them, basically time-restricted or resident-restricted areas. They would become exempt from, they would be a resident. They could park there. They could park in excess of the hours as well, if they were a resident that had the pass, in already legitimate, documented parking spots.
Okay. Could you just repeat that one more time? In that, if there is a restricted parking spot based upon seasonal or neighborhood residents, anyone is able to park because they are in fact part of that neighborhood?
Correct.
Okay.
Right now, they're given by neighborhoods.
Yep.
Certain neighborhoods have them, and you get a permit to park in that neighborhood. This would allow any town resident, any full-time town resident, to utilize any of those spaces, even if they live in a different permitted neighborhood or a neighborhood that's not permitted.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, similar, just one other thing, after Councilor Torialde actually shared that feedback, another concern that I came up with, but I'm willing to overlook, because after speaking with a number of residents, my opinion has since changed quite a bit, but I've had concerns about, like, bottlenecking the Pier area, or areas in the center of town that rely on turnover for small businesses to be supported. And my initial concern here is that by providing this permit to residents in this town, that people could, instead of getting the beach pass, just as an example, just get this free pass and park in the pier area and not have to worry about time, how much time they're spending. Not that I'm encouraging this, by the way. But, thus, as a result, preventing a potential turnover there for, tourists who come in during the summer beach seasons to be able to come in and park there and support our local businesses. But with that, that is a concern of mine. But I do know that you guys have done your due diligence in vetting here. But what I would ask is that we schedule a, what is the word? Review, thank you, of this at the end of the summer. Ideally, I think it would be very important to get this feedback from our local businesses as well as our chief of police as to what worked, what didn't work. Is this something that we should continue with? But those are my additional concerns.
Well, that was one of the major discussions we had, was the pier area in the summertime. And this is for residents and residents only, so it's not for tourists, and so it's not to keep tourists out. It's for the townspeople who pay the taxes to make the roads the way they are. And so it should be fair to everyone where we park in our own town to a limit. So, you know, now, I was going to ask Nick, in this ordinance that we have, if slight changes had to be made, Nick, like, say, not waiting until, say, for instance, July 15th, we figure out this is like a problem. Is there a way of tweaking this without advertising it? Is there the ability to have the police chief or the town manager, you know, just, I'm not sure if that's, the ability's there for that.
Yeah, a tweak to the ordinance, you'd have to go through the whole process,
Okay,
unfortunately.
Yeah. So I think, as far as someone who is in favor of this, I would be in favor of a review, and it wouldn't have to be maybe the end of the summer. It could be, you know, before the
Could even
summer's
be
over,
midsummer, yeah, I agree.
you know.
And again, the whole concept of this was for full-time residents and year-round renters, to clean to start off with a new palette for parking, right? And Jim and I have always discussed that it should be amended if it's not working or if something's going wrong with it. And then you can add to it as we see fit, or as whatever council sees fit. But it's like giving us a nice blank slate for residents.
And again, I applaud that initiative. I just, as somebody who wasn't in the room when these conversations were happening, I just thought it was important to share that feedback as, you know, somebody who had doubts. And I'm reassured, based on the dialogue this evening, that this is something that's doable, and, you know, it's not necessarily, you know, something that we just vote on and approve and forget about it. I think it's necessary to do a check-in to see how it's going on, maybe in the middle of the summer, maybe in July. So
I just kind of feel like I need to ask this, but a 9-month college rental, where would the students fall in relation to this? Would they be eligible for the permit?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And that's interesting, because we've, you know, I looked at, this is not uncommon for residents to have a parking pass. It happens in Westerly, it happens in Newport. In Newport, they have like 35,000 resident parking passes. Students are included. They have a whole different parking situation over there, but short-term rentals and students are actually included in those. But this is only for full-time students. I mean, full-time residents who have a homestead exemption, or people who have a year-round lease. So no less than 12 months.
thank you. And I apologize. I'll allow you to come up. I know you've been waiting. I do apologize. I forgot. All these questions that came up in my head, and I felt like if I didn't ask them, I'd forget. So please come up. I know you've been waiting patiently.
A lot more questions. Joe Cardello, 20 Narragansett Avenue. A couple of times I've been here, maybe 5 or 7. Yes. Sorry about that. So I live in Surfside, and on Coswell, where the police department is, we have permitted parking. Would that get rid of the permitted parking that any resident could park there, which nobody parks anyways? Because this is more, I mean, that's why I came here for the last couple of years. But now you're talking something greater, maybe in the phase program, to see how that works. So if this passes, second reading, you guys approve it, would I be able to park on Coswell?
Is that all of, I just want to make sure, hold on. Because we allocate 3 minutes per speaker, I just want to make sure you get all your questions out if possible, and then he can answer.
So that's the first question.
Okay. Do you remember the question?
No, I remember him, and one of the things we talked about was Mr. Cardello, and I mean, we met the lady while we were campaigning.
Yeah.
Who lives there with the.
Yeah, Tanya.
I just want to make sure before we answer the questions that I've
I
given him.
understand what he's
No,
asking.
I just want to make sure I give him all of his time before we answer.
Oh.
So that's the first question. The second question is, then it goes on to 1C, used exclusively for residential purpose for improvement of dwellings containing less than 5 units. Does that mean if I live in Surfside, because we have more than 5 units, I wouldn't be able to park on Coswell? The third question is, first, as a taxpayer, a resident of Narragansett, shouldn't I have this more of a right than somebody who's renting property from property I own? So those are the 3 questions. And hopefully I can hear a response.
Thank you. Do you want to answer those questions? You can repeat those questions if you forgot, but I know the first one.
Like, I can answer the first one as far as I know, but Jim, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I believe that if you're a full-time resident, then those spots on Caswell will be open to you to park, and you do not have to go by those timeframes.
Okay.
But I think there's a problem if you park there overnight.
Is that correct? Well, while we confirm that.
Because right now, at Coswell, you can park there overnight.
If you have a parking permit.
Go through the process, I get a parking permit.
Correct.
I have the sticker on my car, I park my car there.
Right.
Except for hurricanes, tornadoes, or snow removal, right? Would I be able to do that?
Go ahead.
You would be able to park there.
Okay.
Even though you don't have a permit now to park there.
Okay.
You would have a resident parking pass. If you qualified for that resident parking pass, you could park there. You don't have to go by the times that are on those signs, and I think it's like May 15th to maybe September 15th or whatever. And the other thing I was going to say, Mr. Cardillo, I remember you came a couple times, and I always drive down the little road there, Narragansett Avenue, where they used to sell hot dogs, you know, that little section in Narragansett Avenue. I don't think there's parking restrictions on that street anymore.
So I'm looking at Coswell, so part of it's the state, going around the bend at the light from the beach, then it becomes town property, and the town property comes around the corner, and right at the next light, where Coswell is Narragansett Avenue, permitted parking. And that's what the town's had for more than 15 to 20 years that I know of.
Right, yeah. And that's true, and no one ever parks there, and I
Nobody
see it all
parks
the
there.
time. Yeah. But do you agree with me that the Narragansett Avenue section from Caswell to Beach Street is open parking?
It should be open, because nobody parks there. It
What's
should
that?
be open. It should be open. Nobody parks there.
Well, it used to be restricted.
Well, because you have to have a permit. I have to go to, the town's not going to allow me to park there because it's permitted parking in that area.
On Narragansett Avenue?
Yeah.
From Caswell to Beach Street?
Caswell, it's from
The light at
the light
Caswell.
right down to the
the
police
beach.
department and across the street from that. It's
No,
all-
I'm talking about that other side, you know, like your condos there.
Oh, we can't park there. That's open. That should stay open, because that's where the people at the beach parks, I mean, for 3 hours. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say, keep it open. If nobody's parking there, keep it open. But if what you're talking about is a bigger topic.
Yeah. So,
I just want to make sure that we're not having a back and forth, as it's not appropriate to have a conversation at this time.
Oh,
I do want to make sure we're answering the gentleman's questions here. I do know the third question you asked, should a taxpayer, actually, would you mind repeating the specific words?
A taxpayer
Yep,
who's a resident with a homestead exemption
yep.
should have more of a right than somebody who rents a house.
Personally, I think so. I think that that's actually exactly what these two gentlemen are pushing for in the way in which this has been crafted. But I'm not going to speak for you on this, but it seems like that this is an incentive for people to live here year-round, because in order to get this permit, you have to be here and live here full-time and be a year-round resident.
So I would just say that I think that the intention was how to define a year-round resident, and the only way to
Equitably.
Define it was to include a person that lives here for 12 months of the year with a lease. So I strongly consider those year-round residents as well. So
Yep.
they're in there.
And then there was a second question that you asked about living at
five
Surfside more than
units.
5 minutes?
5 units?
5 units.
5
Oh,
units.
sorry.
I think that was already in the ordinance, so I know that's a little confusing.
It
but,
is.
I don't think that really pertains to many people. I think that has to do something with assessors. After 5 units, it becomes a commercial property. So I think maybe if there was 4 apartments in a building or something like that, and one owner stayed in there, I think that's what they're relating to.
Just for sake of
I
argument.
know you guys are condos, right?
Yeah, condos, just for sake of argument. My interest is to get rid of parking where it's permitted, that somebody has rights to, when nobody parks. Open it up to all residents. Let me go to the town hall, let me pay my $25 so I can get a sticker, and if that sticker is for 1 year, bring some revenue in.
Well,
There's nothing wrong with that.
that's what we're doing, but for this year, it's going to be, it's proposed to be free.
Nothing's for free because it's work for you guys to do. I have to bring in my deed, I have to bring my tax return like some of us do in Narragansett now with double properties, and I have to show them that. That's work for them to do. I would gladly pay $25 to get a sticker just to make sure I have the ability to park, because that's what we don't have.
Thank you. I just
Thank
want to
you.
be mindful of everyone's
Thank you.
time, even though there's not a lot of people left here. Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba. We have too much signage as it is. I've done many walks along Ocean Road and Narragansett Ave, and the last town council put up a lot of signage everywhere. We should remove some of that signage. Remove it, take it down. Maybe then we won't even need this proposal. Narragansett Avenue's got lots of signage. Not only that, enforcement. They have the walking patrol. When I walk down there, do my walks in the summertime, it's hit or miss who's going to get the ticket. How do they know? Are they keeping a photo shoot of every single car? How do they know when they moved in there, 2-hour parking? How do they know when they move out? It's really problematic. On Memorial Square, on a hot summer day, it's going to be back-to-back people parking along that road. So that's a nice thank you we're giving these people for visiting Narragansett, a ticket, a $50 ticket. I don't know why we have those signs up there. They should be taken down on Memorial Square. Cars are parking there left and right. And also, I would like to add this. If someone is not here year-round, they're not renting their place, so they're a snowbird, then allow them to have that. If you are going to go do this, allow them to qualify. They're already getting hit if they can't get the homestead. If they're not renting their place out, they're actually saving us tons of money because it's less taxing on our infrastructure, less use of our sewage, less use of our water. They're paying year-round taxes as it is, so if they're not renting it out, allow them to qualify to get that pass. To me, that makes a heck of a lot more sense, because if you have someone renting it year-round, it's going to encourage more people to say, you know what, I'm going to rent it out year-round, and then that's going to be more, it's going to be taken away from the people who are basically the snowbirds, the elderly. So I would strongly recommend, if you're going to go through this, for one thing, consider removing some of those signs. And second, you know, seriously, if someone is a snowbird, they're not renting their place out, they're probably not independently wealthy, they're already not getting the homestead, allow them to qualify for this pass. So if they have family and friends over for the summertime and they need a place to park, they can do so. And it's not going to be taken from someone who might be just using the beach and escaping the $50 purchase price for a beach pass. It's just something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll respond after public comment. Mr. Hanley?
Jo- Green, John Hanley, 10 Wilderness Drive. Well, I'm thoroughly confused. I think you all are thoroughly confused. So I have a very specific question. In my neighborhood, from Labor Day to Memorial Day, there is no overnight parking starting at 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. Will that change?
Oh, sorry. Usually I write down what street, and by now I should know what street that
I'm
you
in
live on.
the village at Point Judith.
Village at Point Judith.
And it was the people at the village, the residents of the village at Point Judith that fought for those restrictions in the 90s, because I was the one that did it.
Okay.
Can I just speak on that?
Yep, go ahead.
In the ordinance, the language states that overnight parking is, no overnight parking is not exempted with the resident parking permit. So no overnight parking would still stand.
Okay, that was so saying, thank you. Okay, and just one other comment here for the legalese thing. It seems kind of funny that we can have people that are here for 30 days and declare they are residents of the town, legal residents, which they are. They get to vote, and yet you're going to tell those legal residents that they can't get to park. That doesn't make much sense to me. I think you need to, residents should be residents.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, it is interesting because, you know, I've had my opinions on, yes, residents should be residents, but then another day the same issue comes up with, well, how do you incentivize people from, you know, supporting year-round housing and year-round residents? If we don't take some corners here and there, then we're just going to be not addressing a problem. And I'm not saying that this is going to address the problem, but I would add that, you know, we really ought to be prioritizing and taking into consideration those residents who live here year-round. Again, it's described as such as in the homestead tax exemption in order to be qualified for this. I know it was shared that there was, you know, the consideration for snowbirds. I think, you know, there are just circumstances where, you know, parking for a longer period of time is encouraged or, you know, wished upon by residents. If they are snowbirds, they're not here regularly during the summer months, so I don't think there's as much of a concern during those months as well.
Okay, I'm satisfied with your answer. I'm just, there's a point where we have definitions that are stepping over each other on all these ordinances where it's inconsistent.
No, I don't disagree with you on
I'm
that.
all for what you're doing.
Yep, I don't disagree with you on that at all. And again, I think that's part of, like, literally all of Section 1 is identifying a resident. And again, it's an attempt. It's not all inclusive. It's just specifically describes as to what this new ordinance would define as a residence. And again, I'm all in favor of trying to treat all residents equitably across the board, but I just think that, and I don't disagree with you on the concerns of a 30-day resident
A
being able to
resident
vote
is a
here.
resident. They're a legal resident.
Right, but I think in the consideration of this, and this being a luxury item, that special consideration be made for those residents who do live here year-round.
I'm not going to push it. I just think you need to.
No, I appreciate your feedback, though. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else on the council have any feedback that they'd like to provide?
Nick, would you be able to talk through section 1, letter C, under full-time resident definition? This is the 5-unit bit.
Sure.
Clarification.
It might have been the first gentleman who mentioned that. Let's not confuse units with bedrooms, because that might have been the confusion there. Unit, and Mr. Durkin provided some context there. That's more of an apartment unit, different dwelling units, as opposed to your typical residential house, which is one dwelling unit with multiple bedrooms. I don't know if that clarifies things for you?
Not really.
Great.
So I believe he said he lives in Surfside condominiums, which is right at the pier, right at the beach. I want to say there's 30-plus units in there. I understand that unit's different from bedroom, but how does unit work in this context when there's a fairly large complex?
Good question, and an argument may be made that they're all individual units there. I wasn't a part of the drafting of this, so I'm speculating somewhat, but that would be my argument, that in that circumstance, that's how it would apply, that each condo is a separate unit. And that's, I imagine that's how I'm sure that's how they're taxed as well.
Okay. Just looking at it, is there any just immediate thoughts on how this might be polished up a little bit? Just that section?
An occupational hazard is whenever I'm not the one who drafted it. Of course, I would change everything. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think it's fine as is. With the every venture like this is going to be a learning curve. It's not easy, especially when somebody who might not be intimately associated with the ordinance is attempting to park their car at late hours. There's going to be a learning curve. You have an excellent police department, uses a lot of discretion, and especially with multiple members of the council mentioning that there's going to be a trial here, or at least a review, I think you figure it out at the review. Then come the review, if there are things that aren't working, then you tweak. That's how it's kind of a guess and check process, which I would recommend.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
The only thing I can think of that was brought up was, my idea was to leave it free because the people are already paying the taxes, to live here, and they don't need another bill, and it was just something to make residents special, including year-round residents, because normally year-round residents become, once they're in there year-round, they stay there for many years usually, so they become our residents. If we thought at this time that it should be a charge, then we could put that in here instead of having to change it. So like just for example, you could say for this year it's free, next year it's $25 per sticker, and then we wouldn't have to revisit it, or another council wouldn't have to revisit it to start the charge. But that's all I was thinking about as something that, but we also have that ability to do at the second reading, I think, too, right? Probably.
I think if you want any changes, you'd speak to them at this time. The second reading is not really meant to make any changes or have additional discussion on this.
Personally, I'd like it to be a bonus to live here.
Yeah, I think that was the hope.
Yeah, I
the
think
whole
you've
focus
articulated
was
that.
to make it free and
And I, again, just echoing my desire that we, and I'll ask Sarah, I'm just saying this to Sarah just because she remembers just about everything, is that if we were just to have a friendly reminder in July to just do a check-in on this to see how it's going.
July's kind of early.
Well, July's in the middle of the summer. It could be end of July, beginning of August, just somewhere in the middle. Thank you. So with that, any other last comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item E7 is a motion to discuss resolutions received that support municipalities collaborating and reviewing, analyzing, and responding to the 2025 affordable housing laws. I will move this motion myself. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second, discussion. So with that, I know that this was a request that came up at the last council meeting to put this on for discussion. We've received a few. This is not all-inclusive, but it should also be shared that other cities and towns that have put these on for their agenda at their councils for consideration have modified their version. Other cities and towns have voted no for consideration, so I think that, this was important that we at least discuss the possibility of having a similar resolution or a modified version, as you can see with Lincoln and recently Westerly resolutions that have just passed. I know, especially having spoken to representatives with Lincoln and Westerly, that they did not agree with the strict approach that Portsmouth's language took, so they watered down quite a bit of the language, but keeping the same spirit of the resolution in there. So, since not all of these resolutions are identical and they're, amended to represent their specific cities and towns, I put this on for discussion. Hold on, I also had a question that I had to ask. Hold on one second. Forgot to pull out my notes. Regarding the home rule language, specifically as it's being addressed here in a resolution. And at least the response that I received back from our solicitors, and Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that the term home rule is not being used correctly by many people. Home rule allows towns to work within the framework of state enabling statutes, and then an excerpt was shared from Judge Taft Carter's decision on the short-term rental case. As for the current situation, the General Assembly has enacted specific laws to encourage housing and affordable housing. Home rule alone does not neutralize or eliminate the power of the General Assembly to enact statewide statutes. And the specific example that was shared was for even if a local government is authorized to act through home rule or a delegation of authority from the General Assembly, those localities may not enact ordinances that are preempted by state law. And this is Augur 44A3D at 1229. An ordinance or regulation can be, and this is Judge Taft Carter's decision, an ordinance or regulation can be preempted if it conflicts with a state statute on the same subject, or if the legislature intended that its statutory scheme completely occupy the field of regulation on a particular subject. And this was the Town of Warren versus Thornton White House case from 1999. And in 2008, in interpreting the potentially conflicting statutes, the court construes and applies apparently inconsistent statutory provisions in such a manner so as to avoid the inconsistency. Such versus state, that was a 2008 case that quoted Kells versus the Town of Lincoln, a case from 2005. So my questions were really regarding home rule language and what this resolution was saying. The way in which I initially was reviewing these resolutions, that it was a collaborative effort, like an approach and a reaffirming, the town's authority and willingness to work with other cities and towns on a less spreading of the butter, so to speak. Like, let's not, like peanut butter spread, I said butter. A less peanut butter spread approach that, you know, statewide initiatives should be handled equally with every city and town. But it sounds like, based on this, that there's already this authority that exists that we know of already, that every city and town has the authority to create these, you know, via enabling legislation, these ordinances that are specific to their cities and towns. I know I just shared a lot in there, but do you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, just to simplify things, home rule allows municipalities to adopt ordinances on local matters. And the big but is, but it can't conflict with state law. So if we talk zoning, we have the Zoning Enabling Act, which is passed by the General Assembly. It either enables or tells municipalities what they can or can't do. A city or town then can't pass an ordinance conflicting with state law. It would be, in Judge Taft Carter's words, preempted. The state has already spoken. So while cities and towns can pass ordinances relating to local matters, and you might say, well, zoning is local. That is not necessarily the case when that subject matter or specific subject matter is already spoken to by the General Assembly. So I've seen different iterations of these resolutions in other cities and towns passing around the state. I think it paints with a broad brush, and I don't know if you care or not. I don't know how well it will be received at the General Assembly. You may not care at all. It's why you're the policymakers in town. But that's what home rule is.
Thank you. Does anyone else on the council have any questions or comments on the items that were received and are being reviewed at this juncture?
I guess question again for Nick. In essence, the resolutions from Portsmouth, from Tiverton, from Portsmouth, I don't know if I said that one already, but specifically the ones that call out the line items that they have issues with. In essence, what does this resolution do? Is it simply calling upon the state to reverse these? Is it saying we will not enforce these? What is happening in this instance?
I think there are different iterations. Some are more watered down than the others. It's very clear. I think Portsmouth takes a hard line. What does a resolution do? I mean, it sends a message here to the General Assembly that a city or town is not satisfied with certain things, certain statutes that are being passed. If it's your prerogative to send that type message or any message at all, that's your call.
Okay. So I guess looking at Portsmouth, for example, they've passed this resolution, and I don't know if you know this, but what is happening in Portsmouth with regards to, let's say, the enforcement of these particular line items? Are they rolling over and taking it? Are they fighting it?
I don't know. Are they, you mean, by way of example, they've expressed dissatisfaction with certain statutes. Are they not enforcing those statutes? I don't know. I'd be guessing.
Thank you.
But I would also add that that's up to the city and town to decide whether or not they're going to enforce it. So that's, you know, while again the makeup of the language here in each of these resolutions is different, it's mostly, you know, similar in that they express concern regarding housing laws that were passed pretty overwhelmingly at the state in its applicability down to the local city and town level, and then, you know, just reinforces this request that cities and towns should collaborate, municipalities should collaborate, amend language to, you know, reflect the necessities of each city and town. And again, that's, again, the gist of these resolutions. Again, they're not all the same. Barrington, at least last time I checked, did not support this resolution. And again, you see that there are other cities and towns that have supported their own version of these resolutions. So again, I just wanted to put this on here for discussion, just to see what the general feedback was from the council. if it was to be considered at a later time for a resolution, a similar resolution for Narragansett. Any other comments from the council?
I think, Alex, it's good that you put it on for discussion. I think that, you know, us as a town, we should consider what's most important to us, and not put us in a bowl with other towns that have specific issues that we don't really have. Now, if I look at Portsmouth, Tiverton, Little Compton, they have big, wide swaths of land, hundreds of acres, vacant land. The only thing that we have that big is something that's owned by the Land Conservancy Trust that can't be built on, or it's, you know, Sunset Farm or state-owned property, but there's no large swaths of land in Narragansett that are available. So I think if we had that issue and we had 300 affordable housing units being constructed in our town, then we would maybe consider doing something like that. But I think that since we need money for dredging the river, bike path issues, sewer issues, we need to have a relationship with the state that is amicable. They can trust us, and we don't just send a letter and join a group that is, you know, objecting to their laws. And it might not be right that it's a one, you know, one thing, one item fits all, or one law fits all, or whatever it is, but I don't think we're affected as much as some of these people are, and I don't think we should join forces with them. So.
Thank you. Anyone else on the council have anything they'd like to add? Anyone from the public? Dr. Alba.
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I'm just shaking my head, Mr. Durkin, being the largest property owner, rental owner, sure. Let's unmerge our lots. Let's get rid of the bulk zoning. We don't have issues. We need more money to pay for our new sewage, $100 million. What's causing all of our issues? What's causing our water shortage? It's certainly not people watering their lawns. It's people like you who have 20+ people in some of your houses. That's what's causing our issues. Flushing those toilets. That's what's flooding our sewer system. That's a lot of crap, literally and figuratively. And Council President, Supreme Court, 2024, updated, ruled, anglers try their lucky day, Westerly Sun. Count this. They try their luck at Browning Pond. The Rhode Island Supreme Court ruled in favor of Richmond and Exeter in their Browning Pond suit. Listen to this, town solicitor. The two towns sued the state to prevent the construction of a natural resource center at the pond located at Exeter, Richmond, and they won.
Dr. Alba, please direct your comments.
Well, I'm just educating him. I know he's an educated man.
Please treat everyone with respect.
I'm sharing this with you too.
I will end your comment on this if you don't treat everyone respectfully.
I've shared this with other towns who thanked me. So it's amazing.
You do your research just as well as everyone up here does.
Representing this town for many, many years. I was recognized as one of the leaders in advocating for the town, and I will continue to do so. So I'm just sharing with you the information which was shared tonight was wrong. Home rule is effective. I spoke to the solicitors, town solicitors of the other towns. They said it is valid. They are going to fight this. And we do have major issues. We have crises in Narragansett. We have people who are being priced out. We're having families driven out of this town. So we do have a situation where we cannot allow the state usurp the powers of our planning and zoning. Why have a planning and zoning committee if we're going to have to follow the directives? You're stripping away all of our committee members, Dr. Mark Brady, a sage individual, taking away, getting rid of our bulk zoning, unmerging our lots, increasing the FAR. This is all going to exacerbate. This is going to exacerbate the issues we're having in Narragansett. People complain to me, I have this beautiful house with this beautiful water view, and now I got a 3-decker rental in front of me. It's disgusting. Each of you are going to have to answer to this at the primaries and at the next election, because it's awful. I got other town councils that are supporting me, and this town council in my own hometown is listening to Mr. Durkin.
Thank you. Yep.
Carolyn Petroselli, Rockland Street. I don't even know where to begin with this. You know, Mr. Durkin says that this doesn't really affect our town and what they're doing at the state level. But, and it isn't a one-size-fits-all. I mean, what they're trying to do is, but we have specific issues in this town that are different from the other 11 communities that have now joined in with Portsmouth. And it might actually be 12 at this point. But our issues, you know, when you talk about affordable housing, and a lot of this is being done in the guise of affordable housing, but this isn't going to help us as a town, because any of these houses that are going on the market now are just being eaten up by or taken up by investors. They're not going to families. They're not going to people that are working in the community and want a home here, even for renting. They just aren't, it's just not happening. So it really kind of surprises me that you are minimizing this and acting as if this isn't something that affects us. This, you know, what the state is doing, they're not even considering what each of these municipalities need in their own local, in giving them their own local authority and home rule. I mean, they are just taking this and just painting a wide brush. They haven't consulted with the municipalities, as far as I know. I haven't heard of any kind of community input from asking the state or having the state have meetings or anything with communities. Maybe they don't have to do that, but it seems like very authoritarianism, that they're just putting this upon us and saying you're going to do this. And they're not considering, I wondered what studies they may have done. Was there any real evaluation on the impact of water usage, of watersheds, of wastewater on the state's part to support this? I mean, we have a right to know. I mean, we are impacted greatly with that. And why aren't you up there saying to them, look, you can't do this to us. We have big problems with our infrastructure, our water and our sewer. You have to consider that, and not to even, you know, go there and fight that. So I commend these communities, Portsmouth, Tiverton, Hopkinton, Burrillville, Bristol, Smithfield, West Greenwich, East Greenwich, Lincoln, whom you said you spoke with, Middletown, Westerly, who you apparently spoke with, and I understand Charleston. Now, they may have joined this in different, you know, capacities, and they've adjusted it, and as they should, because each community has its unique needs. But to not do anything and just say the state's mandated it, we have to do it, that to me is a cop-out.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Hanley.
John Hanley, 10 Woodlands Drive. So I'll just say I do applaud that you put this on the agenda, knowing that it's a can of worms. The fact is, which hasn't been said, is that you all agree with the state. For whatever reason, you all agree with exactly what the state has done and are using the state and the affordability excuse to push your agenda. It's as simple as that, so just please say it. And the other thing is that I applaud you putting this on the agenda. I would appreciate a short-term rental item on the agenda just for discussion.
Thank you. Anyone else?
President Menzies.
Oh, yeah.
Since no vote's needed on this, it's just a discussion.
Yeah.
I just want to please have you vote to extend the meeting to 10:30.
Oh, thank you. Is there a vote to extend the meeting?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Durkin? Aye. Oh, thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Yes. What I was going to say is if you do want to speak, it is getting a little late, so my eyesight's going a little bit, so if I miss anyone, just shout. But thank you, everyone, for their feedback, and I will make note of everything that's been shared. So moving on to the Parks and Recreation Department is item F1. Is there a motion to approve the 2026 contract agreement for the 49th annual concert on the beach with the Rhode Island Philharmonic Orchestra in the amount of $28,938.00 and authorize the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Oops. There we go. Fantastic, incredible event every year. Had the honor and the privilege of working this event for multiple summers with our director as well. And I know they run a tight ship over there, but every year it's just the best event, and everyone's always talking about it. And I say the best event, and I'm sitting up here with some Lions members who would challenge me and say the Blessing is the best event. But this is one of the best events, and I'm really happy to see it come back for now the 49th annual, next year being the 50th. That'll be a big one. But again, I really appreciate their services and highly recommend everyone come out to see them. Anyone have anything they'd like to add? Oh, I saw your microphone on. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item F2. Is there a motion to approve the 2026 contract agreement for production support services with JB Theatrical Productions, LLC for the 49th annual concert on the beach in the amount of $15,000.00 and authorize the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Again, just a continuation. This is literally just for the contract and for the support services. Anyone have questions, comments on this? Anyone from the public? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item F3. Is there a motion to approve the expenditure of $16,500.00 to the Dunes Club, which represents 50% of the total fee of the 2026 fireworks display and barge rental to be produced by Pyrotechnico Fireworks, Inc., and the expenditure of 50% of the total fee for the fire department detail officers needed for the event, price to be determined?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Anyone have questions, comments on this? I would just add that it's an incredible event every year, that you applaud the Dunes Club collaborating with the town on this initiative, and we just continue to get tremendous feedback from residents and people visiting the town that they just love to see them. Anyone in the congregation here have any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item F4. Is there a motion to approve the request from the Friends of Canotchett Farm for installation of the Three Sisters Garden in the upper meadow at Canotchett Farm?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone have questions or comments on this item? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item G1 from the Public Works Department. Is there a motion to adopt a proclamation recognizing Arbor Day 2026 and the importance of trees in Narragansett?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Arbor Day, it should be recognized and celebrated. I highly recommend, if you're able to plant a tree this season, do so.
I have a question. Jim, the tree that we planted at the,
The Liberty Tree?
right, That's the Liberty Tree, right? We planted one, and that's in remembrance of the historical 250th anniversary, right?
Correct.
Okay, because we keep getting those emails.
Yeah, I get them too, yeah.
I'm like, we bought a tree.
We'll have to start a Liberty Garden at this point. Smaller plants, you know, which I'm not opposed to beautifying this.
No, we could get
I
more.
was having second thoughts too. I thought we did that.
Yeah, yeah. It was a cold day, too, remember?
Any other questions or comments on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item G2. Is there a motion to approve the purchase and installation of a new heating system at the Public Works facility from Automatic Temperature Controls in the total amount of $149,952.00, utilizing the State of Rhode Island Master Price Agreement, MPA number 136?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone on the council have questions or comments on this? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to the Finance Department is item H1. Is there a motion to approve the contract extension for general heating, ventilation, and air conditioning services with JMB Mechanical, Inc. at their quoted bid prices, for a 1-year period ending April 7th, 2027?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone on the council have any questions or comments on this? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item H2. Is there a motion to award the bid for tax sale title search to the lowest bidder, Taft and McSally, LLP, at their quoted bid prices, $95.00 per title exam, $125.00 per collector's deed, and $11.00 per postage notice for the 2026 tax sale?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Anyone have any comments or questions on this on the council? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to the town clerk.
Any reason, Alex, we can't, these are all peddler's license, is there any reason we can't do this all at once? Or do we need separate votes on each one?
I'll just read them individually quickly. I just don't want there to be any pushback, and I appreciate it. I'll read it quick. Is there, item I1, is there a motion to approve an application for Edward Jones for a special event permit for an ice cream social that is being held on Friday, August 21st, 2026 at Sprague Park, 179 Kingstown Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. On to item I2, is there a motion to approve a Class F alcoholic beverage license for Shannon Brito to participate in the Narragansett Art Festival hosted by the Rotary Club of Wakefield on Saturday, June 20th, and Sunday, June 21st, 2026 at Veterans Memorial Park and Gazebo Park, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item I3. Is there a motion to approve a mobile food establishment license application for Allison's Wonderland LLC, DBA Allison's Wonderland, subject to state and local regulations?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item I4. Is there a motion to approve a mobile food establishment license application for Todd Blount, DBA Blount Clam Shack Food Truck, subject to state and local regulations?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the council?
They have great clam chowder.
See, we would have missed that comment had we bypassed all of these
In Alice's
considerations.
Wonderland.
In Allison's Wonderland. Anyone from the, out there? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item I5, is there a motion to approve a mobile food establishment license application for Tiffany Karsner, DBA Karsner and Company, subject to state and local regulations?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on this item? Anyone out in the public? You know, I looked up and the last person in the attendance just left. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item I6. Is there a motion to approve a mobile food establishment license application for Kettle Corn Express LLC, DBA Kettle Corn Express, subject to state and local regulations?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item I7. Is there a motion to approve a mobile food establishment license application for Brixton Coffee Roasters, LLC, DBA Brixton Coffee Roasters, subject to state and local regulations?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
We're out of rhythm.
What?
We're out of rhythm.
Oh, yeah, I know we're a little out of rhythm
A
here.
lot of food trucks coming. That's what I know.
Anyone from the public have any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On to item I8. Is there a motion to approve the filling of one vacancy within the municipal court?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. So this is literally a position that's being filled. This is an advisory to the council that this is a position that is being filled. And this is just a standardization of this process. Thank you for sharing this with us. I don't know if anyone on this council has any questions or comments on this. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Finally, from our solicitor is the last item, item J1. Is there a motion to authorize payment of $54,819.03 to Taft and McSally for foreclosure proceeding services?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
I'd like to just say that I'm here on this as a sponsor, but I was only put on here as a necessity. They needed a sponsor to pay these people. I would not have sponsored this if it was before me originally, but it was another council that sponsored this, and this is what we have to do to pay and straighten that out.
Thank you. I don't think you are on here as a sponsor, though.
I thought I was.
I think that you were considering to do it, but I think Solicitor Callahan stepped in to sponsor this.
Oh, okay.
But I appreciate your feedback. And
Withdraw all
concern.
that.
So retract that comment.
Retract.
But with that, anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And there's no executive session this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn at 10:40 p.m.?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion